Oh my goodness, guys. This episode is biblically long. I am so pumped about episode 4 of Loki and what's going to happen in episode 5 that I just didn't want to stop talking. And Ashley, to her credit, was also like, yeah, let's keep going. Let's keep going. I'll cut this out of the podcast, but I kept asking her, you good to go? You can go whenever you need to. I'm going to keep talking about the show. And she kept going, yeah, let's keep going. So this is the longest episode of the podcast in probably 5 years. I don't know. We hadn't done a long one like this in a long time, but I was just it's so much to theorize about and to talk about, and it's just goofy fun, and I love this show. And so I'm just having a great time. I hope you guys enjoy the really long format today. By the way, we have 2 contests going on in Stranded Panda. Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater has a review contest, and Multiverse News has a contest going on as well, where you can do a 5-star review, join the Patreon, or share us on social media. And if you do any of those things, send a screenshot to multiversenewscast@gmail.com. All those things you can do to win a cool horror t-shirt with Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater, or a Loki Steelbook with Multiverse News. So please go do those things. We really would love to grow both of those shows inside the network. So please help us out. Enjoy this incredibly long Loki episode. I just was goofy excited about this show. So I hope it's infectious. I hope you guys enjoy it. Right after this. Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Ashley Coffin.
Ashley, as I said in the intro, that I may go a while, but you probably won't. How you feeling, friend?
I'm okay. I'm hurting from a good time. Let's put it that way. I forgot my Z-Biotic, so
Oh no.
I know.
Oh no.
I know.
That's really funny. I also forgot my Z-Biotic to go out this weekend, but I didn't have that much. But yeah, you've got a sore throat or something, which is terrible. So whenever you need to tap out.
Okay. Yeah, lots of screaming. So sorry, everybody, about my voice.
Yeah, I will. I'm glad you had a great time. I am so freaking excited about the show that I want to answer as many of these feedbacks as possible. So if you need to tap out,
Sure,
we will. Just say so. It's totally cool.
Okay.
And I'll keep rolling if I need to. But because we got lots of feedback and lots of good ideas and lots of thoughts, and I just love this freaking show. And this episode was so freaking good.
It was great.
It really was. I just did my little requisite rewatch before our Monday episode, and I watched it with my mom, who's never seen the show before. And I've been talking about how I talked about it in the first episode, how it operates on these 3 different levels. If you don't even care about what's going on at all, nothing about what's going on, you can just enjoy the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fun characters and the good writing, and then if you care about it deeper, and then you care about it thematically, there's these different levels. My mom has never seen this show and has no idea what's going on, and she watched the episode and just absolutely loved it. And I just thought that was really fun to see her really getting into it, even though no idea what's going on.
Yeah, it's a hard one to jump in the middle on. I mean, I do understand what you're saying, that you can watch it and know what's going on, but
yeah,
you really wouldn't know what's going on.
For sure.
Oh, I like their outfits, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the outfits, the design, the funny banter is so good, and she was picking up on lots of the little character beats. Oh, Victor Timely, he seems like kind of she was noting how he was such a con man and able to context switch when he jumped into talking to Renslayer in minutes and jumps back and forth. I love that moment that we didn't talk about in our initial episode, when he sits down with them and they're like, what the hell, man? What did you do? And yeah, it made me realize, not only, in my opinion, is Victor Timely just a cog in He Who Remains His Machine, but he's also pawning off all of the punishment that he deserves for what he did to Renslayer. Renslayer is so pissed off at Victor Timely, and so is Minutes. They're really giving him all this hatred.
Yeah, it was the Jerry Springer chair. That's what we said on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. We did. I just love the moment when they sit him down and he just crosses his legs and goes, I believe you're going to be very happy with what I have to tell you guys. I'm so glad you're okay. That's the moment I'm talking about. switching contexts and being able to like be the con man that he is and like work around whatever's going on. I loved it so much.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he really is. But yeah, so many good things. And the thing that like also stood out to me on my rewatch was like, sorry, we're doing another Matt's Corner. I'm sorry. I've got so many things before we get to the feedback. I got so many things I want to talk about. I thought you'd enjoy this. You know, Loki, you have talked many times about the hair flip that him doing his hair flip. We were watching the last time on, he jumps through the little portal and he like flips his hair and my mom goes, that was a good move.
Yeah. I mean, he's for all ladies of all ages. The hair flip is right. For everything and everybody.
The hair flip is for everyone.
Doesn't matter. When you do the hair flip well, you get the attention.
Yeah, he does it well. He does it well.
Now I just need some knives back. I miss him with his knives. But, you know, getting a little too Britney Spears with me, baby.
Yeah,
I cannot stop watching that knife stuff.
The Britney Spears,
knife stuff. Yeah, I love her, but God, I could not, because it was also the Pure Mood soundtrack from like 1992 that my mom used to play all the time. It was just like weird, like kind of erotic, weird songs, and I haven't heard them since there. And then I was like, wait a minute, I know that weird song.
That's funny.
Yeah,
that's
so
really funny.
There was a lot of nostalgia in there for me. It was like,
I haven't seen it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you serious?
No, I've seen screenshots of her holding knives and people talking about the.
I will send it
craziness.
to you. Don't you worry.
Okay, I've not seen the thing. Not on my feed, I guess. There's we get to see the Citadel and the multiverse. It just looks absolutely screwed. Like it is just torn up. That was neat. I thought we saw like He Who Remains is 3D tech in the final episode of last season where it was like forming the little people, but they were all kind of monocolored and stuff. But I really enjoyed the little 3D tech of this little like full 3-dimensional people walking around in that tiny room and showing the memory or whatever, that moment, like security camera footage of the Citadel.
Yeah, okay.
You know, when and Renslayer is sitting behind it, looking through it. It was just really cool. Just a cool piece of technology I've never seen on screen before.
It's cool. They really went over the top with the cinematography in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. And when something I really didn't notice first time, because now that I knew it was going to happen, and I kind of knew when he was saying it, but like he's telling her to go, and he's like, "I would be proud to lead with you," all that stuff. There's like look on his face, and like we know now that he says I'm sorry once he sends her off.
Yeah,
but like. There's a look on his face that he like really feels regretful, and it's like, and there's a look on her face like she might know he's lying. You know what I mean? Like, she doesn't fully trust him, and he feels guilty. Like when he says that phrase, and she looks back at him, and she says, "Always," and it's just like this. It just doesn't look. Whew, it looks really crazy. And then the thing that, like the general doc stuff was like really, I don't know, it stood out more to me this time than the first time. Like the sort of like where do people fall on the lines of this stuff? And like, what does the TVA represent thematically? Like,
right.
And I keep kind of going back to like the TVA is like representative of like society, you know what I mean? And like, they all realize that the reason society was built and like this thing that like is able to help the world function properly. It's almost like us looking at our system of government or our system of, and then as you get older, you realize like there's no magic to it. There's no like, whatever. When you lose your faith, you know, in the context of this show, like they're losing their beliefs in the three lizards or whatever that character says last season.
You akin it to like Christmas. Like I don't remember or I've never had a kid where I've gotten to tell them like Santa Claus isn't real. But like I can't imagine. I'm interested to see how that goes with my friends' kids. Like, are they going to be pissed? Will they already know? Will someone, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different stages, and that's kind of all the emotions all these different factors of people at the TVA are going through.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be like a traditional religion. It's just kind of like losing whatever you've believed. Like people question the history of our country, like the history of America. We're told one thing in school, and as we get older, we realize, oh, it actually, we learn a lot about the kind of stuff that was actually controlling, and like the racial stuff, and like the things that like you didn't really get taught when we were learning about our forefathers and stuff. Right. Like there's just this sort of like narratives that you are taught that you have to unlearn to become an adult, and it's sort of like they all unlearned it at the same time, and they're all having to have these different reactions to that unlearning, and I just find it so fascinating. And like hearing Docs and Brad like argue about what they want to do, and Brad is just like he's sort of all about the anarchy of it, like let the system fall, and I'm just gonna go be a hedonist, like I'm gonna go do what I want. He's like this selfish anarchy.
I feel like I would be a Brad.
Yeah, I get
you know
that.
What I mean, like, oh, I'm a movie star now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like there's so many different reactions within the TVA itself, and like none of them are wrong. You know what I mean? Like they all have valid, like I totally understand Brad being like, yeah, this society, this whole belief system, like let it all fall. I'm gonna go do what I want to do. Like I don't care about the society. I don't care about upholding like any kind of like system or culture or safety. Like I'm just going to go get mine, Yeah. And it's this selfish anarchy. And then you have Sylvie, who is also all about the anarchy. She wants everyone to do what they want. She wants what she wants, but she has this like benevolent anarchy that wants it for everyone. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They're like two opposites. There's so many characters that are sort of the opposite of each other in different ways. And I just like, I want to sit here and analyze the show for hours about that alone. Actually, I texted Jeff and was like, can we do an episode? Because I know he's a big D&D guy. I was like, can we do an episode about like the D&D, what's it called? Like alignments or whatever of these different characters? Because like unlawful good, lawful neutral, unlawful whatever. I feel like that would be a really fun analysis for this.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Like we maybe we'll do that either after the season or sometime, just randomly to throw an extra episode out. I just like am so loving this show. It is bringing so much life back for me with the MCU. I'm so freaking pumped about it all.
Yeah, they better land the ending.
Yeah, I feel like there's no way they won't. Like I just trust it so much, and that is the precipice at which could be terrible. This could lead me to terrible destruction. Feeling that way, but like. I love it. I love the show so much. I can't imagine. You want to hear my silly red string theory of the week?
What?
The pie makes you forget, or it makes you compliant.
That might be it.
Like compliant pie.
Yeah, there's something weird with the pies. And I didn't notice before, but they're all the green key lime pie.
Yeah, everything's key lime. Like I didn't even realize it was all pie at first. I probably noticed it last season too at some point, but like when they walked in there, I was like, oh, this must be the way they get their food. But like, no, it's just all key lime pie.
It's just the pie room, yeah.
Yeah, and I really kind of love it. Just aesthetically, I love it. And then Mobius being such a lover of the pie, like maybe it represents sort of like drinking the Kool-Aid of the TVA. Like maybe it doesn't actually do it. Maybe it's just thematically representing it. Like the fact that Sylvie's like, screw your pie. And Mobius is like, I love the pie. Like they're different sides of that, like who, like their belief in the TVA is so opposite, Maybe
Mobius in his other life was just a really big fan of Twin Peaks. Because pie is a huge part of
nice.
Of Agent Cooper.
Nice. Yeah. Maybe he was that guy.
Maybe he, oh shit. That's how he got here. Went through the black room or the Black Lodge.
Yeah. Whatever that all means. I really need to watch that show. So I just understand your references.
That's good. I understood that reference.
We talked a lot about Victor Timely and OB and how it's a Ouroboros grandfather paradox, all that. Maybe it's not. And here's my explanation for that. So OB talks about this great scientist that he read that got him a lot of his information, and Timely talks about Ouroboros and how he had the book. Maybe the version that Ouroboros was the learning from was the one from the sacred timeline. Little bit of headcanon, but like he talks about this great engineer who knew all this stuff, and he read this guy, and that informed his knowledge or whatever. Like If he'd had the resources, he would have been bigger than Einstein, he says. Like, maybe that was the version of Timely that he actually, like, which would make sense, because then there's the branch timeline version that went through all this other stuff.
Right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense, I think.
Yeah, right? It at least cleans up the grandfather paradox of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't
know. The grandfather, like, that stuff you're like, wait a minute, what are we doing here now?
Yeah. Well, and there's another idea, if that's not the case, if this is the version, one thing I found interesting is, like, he talks about how he read his writings and stuff. And then there's the one piece that Victor has in his bag. And, like, my headcanon is that if this is the version of Victor Timely that OB was communicating with, then, like, the thing in his bag is, like, the thing he hadn't written about yet, right? Because OB had been working off of his old schematics and plans and engineering, and there's this thing in his bag that's a prototype that maybe isn't even in his writings yet, right?
Oh, that's cool.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that even better, but it doesn't clean up the grandfather paradox, which maybe just embrace the paradox, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know what they're trying to tell us with that, but it was definitely out of left field because it just doesn't make sense.
So it's tough because the time travel and the way the TVA works versus the way all the other times work. Like, let's say, you remember in the first episode, they set up the fact and they put that lantern on the fact that it makes total sense, or whatever OB said, because Mobius was traveling back Loki's traveling back in time, telling Mobius things, or telling, I can't these names. Loki is traveling back in time and telling OB things that he needs to know, and then he's learning them in real time in the future.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the other part of that theory is that if this version of Timely from the branch timeline is the version that OB is communicating with, then OB might have not known the stuff about the multiplier before the branch timeline happened. So, like, these writings that he's been receiving of Victor Timely may have been, like, implanted memories that have been happening along the season. It's all very confusing.
So much.
I freaking love it. I'm sorry. I just love it so much.
I have seen a couple people in the Facebook chat post that they're having a really hard time with it. Like, it's making it almost not enjoyable for them.
Oh, wow.
They need to chill with I was like, because it is very confusing. This is probably one of the only shows I find that I feel like I don't have as much to contribute as, you do, because I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen because I don't know what's happening.
Oh, man. I just think we have very different things to contribute. Like, it's that whole thing of different levels of the show. Like, whatever you enjoy, this show works on, I think, so many levels, but I don't know.
But for the people out there who are super confused, I hear you, I see you, I'm with you.
Yeah. Two things. You're here to say, like, it's okay if you don't, like, follow that stuff, but also it's like, we're here to talk about it, and we're here to break it down every week, and we'll get real deep on it. We're going to try our best to learn about it and talk about it. And I'm sure a lot of people wrote in about stuff like that, so it'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What else you got?
I guess so much. I guess so. Like, I could do a whole episode right now just talking about my notes again, which I'm trying to run through them and not talk about everything. But, like, they're all things I want to talk about.
Talk about them. I mean, that's what we're doing here.
Why not? I promise I will go long.
It'll be easier. Like, even if I have to tap out when you are answering
feedback
emails, that's a little easier than what you're doing. Yeah, you can just go ahead. Have the conversation.
No, I know, but I know we're gonna get to feedback, and we will. I promise. Loki pruning himself. Do you think that him pruning himself will screw with Loki and Sylvie's relationship further? Because she's already skeptical of him. She already, like, doesn't blah, blah, blah. And then, like, she pulls open the elevator, sees a Loki, and goes, there you are. And then he's, like, prunes himself.
Yeah. I'm still confused about where that one, it just went back to being him, right?
I'm confused. I need to go back and watch because, like, I thought that when he pruned himself was happening in the past.
It did no, it was the future. Remember, he said that they sent him to the future. He was in the future at that point when he saw Sylvie.
Okay. So, yeah,
because remember when he's at the McDonald's, he's like, I saw you in an elevator at the TV and I need to find out why. But he was like, I think I'm in the future. Because wasn't the skin thing written there? Or it wasn't? I can't remember. The skin question mark was in the that main room, and he was completely alone. There was nobody around. I don't know.
Oh, that was the future.
That was the future of the TVA.
Oh man, I gotta go rewatch that episode because now I thought he was only going between 2 points in time. Does he go to a third point?
Because that's when he's like, "Oh my god, I'm in the future." I think.
So the future he catches up with would have to be that moment we're seeing there.
Yeah, with the phone ringing.
The skin thing doesn't make any sense. But then that also doesn't make sense because they're not in the room because they're not in the room. They're all in OB's office.
Well, I think they also changed what was going to happen. Like that scene in the future is completely different from the future that they got to because they've been messing with time and doing different stuff. That's why that future didn't look the same. I don't know. They went and got, Ravonna got Victor Timely, and like who knew all that stuff was going to happen. And it kind of might have changed what was exactly going to happen, even though they ended up in the same position because the phone was still ringing and Sylvie was still opening the thing.
No, the thing, he's ringing. I guess what happened, I think it's all the same. I don't think they changed anything because if they changed something, then why is that Loki in the exact same spot ready to be pruned? Like I think
I don't know.
I think it's got to be the time is the same Ouroboros thing, but like, I mean, it doesn't have to be. That's what I feel. I feel that. But if it is that, I guess they were all in the office when he appears, and then he and sees the skin thing. They were all in the office, and then he runs downstairs, and then they go into the control room, and then they start calling him. Like, where are you? It makes sense, I guess. That makes sense what you would call at that moment. X5's adopting Renslayer's team or whatever is very much like Executioner with Hela in Ragnarok.
Okay.
Like seeing everyone else die.
Bradley? Yeah.
Bradley. Like,
so you think he's going to have a hero moment?
I don't know. I think he could. Like, I think he does not like that she crushed all his friends.
No.
Like, really doesn't like that. Also, I was thinking, like, this whole time, we talked about, like, what if the control room is protected and the rest of the TVA goes away? Almost every character in the TVA we care about, is gone before that moment. So, like...
True.
Like, we care about Renslayer. She's in the future. She's in the void, apparently.
We don't know.
I have a feeling we're going to open the next episode, and eventually we'll see her, and she's, like, in the void and dealing with, like, the repercussions of whatever the void looks like after millions of timelines have been pruned or whatever, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I love that Sylvie got her, too. She, as Bradley.
Yes,
like, gotcha.
as Bradley. I love it. I love it.
Been waiting for this.
Yeah. So I think Renslayer's not done. I think getting her out of the TV and pruning her is actually a way of escaping the character, so that she can come back later after the TVA is probably gone, except for some portion of it.
It's like with Miss Minutes, we don't know what's going on with her, but she took over the entire Loki Instagram, deleted hundreds of posts from the last 2 seasons, and it just has the thing going on, and I'm like, where's she? What's going on with her?
Yes. It seems, I mean, see, she was doing that in the middle of the episode, making all the TVs and stuff not work. Like, all TVs, what I'm talking about. She's making everything not work. So it makes sense that would be the case. But if you, like, on that Instagram, it's there's only 2 things on it. It's her saying, like, which is like on their, it's so funny because it's on their posts and their reels. It's just that video. And then the profile picture is the rebooted Miss Minutes that is just a clock.
Vintage looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
the vintage looking. It's really cool.
That's marketing. Marvel knows how to market.
They do, man. They do. So, yeah, I the only people that I can think of that are not in that room or having already died or left are the one general who's in the wheelchair. I don't know her name, and then Bradley. Bradley's also not in that room. So, like, if the TVA gets destroyed, like, what's up with them?
What's gonna happen?
They talk about someone needing to be able to run fast through the thing and, like, and Victor Timely ends up volunteering, and I just couldn't help but think of him running from the law and running from those investors and stuff. Like he's been on the run his whole life as a con man, like running back and forth. Like I wonder if he like thought that made him a good fit or something.
I still don't trust him.
Right? I do. I fully do now. Like he had that moment where he's like, time to be brave. And I didn't trust him either. I was like, sure, this is he who remains. He's about to go take over everything. But like when he says time to be brave, I'm like, that's exactly the hero turn. You know, it's like the moment where it's like you're faced with something and you decide to be the brave one and try to help everybody or whatever. And he's like pulling a Captain America type thing, like willing to fall on the grenade. And it's terrible. It's terrible that he gets spaghettified.
That's why I'm like, Loki, you really should probably be the one doing this. I mean, your brother took on the full strength of a star. Let's see what you got.
Right?
You know what I mean?
Come
like, you're an ice monster. Get out there and ice some shit. I don't know. Freeze the damn thing. Do something besides be like, not me. But that's my Loki. That's,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's not going to volunteer if someone else is volunteering. Come on.
No. He's like, that doesn't look like me. It looks like you.
Yeah.
The little toys.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I love Sylvie's like, it doesn't look like anyone. It's wearing a helmet. The like logical answer is clear, but like they're just bickering like little kids. We talked about magic is useful at the TVA at this moment, we think, and I think that's going to play in. I think it's going to save everybody, or at least save our crew.
Okay.
I think
so too, because that's the only logical.
It feels really logical. It feels like
way
it
to
would
get
fit
out
really
of it.
well. Like,
yeah, maybe just a little.
Like we see like Loki's eyes that were squinting and like the burst of the light, and then it just sort of pans out from his eyes, and everyone's standing around, and there's like a glow around them protecting them or whatever. Like I think that could be really cool, especially if they're just like in the middle of the swirling energy and someone's protecting them.
Yeah.
But here's what I would love to see. It's not Loki or Sylvie that's using their magics. Like they're getting washed over with whatever, and then someone is using magic to protect them, and it ends up being someone else in that room, and that's how we find out who they are in the timeline. Like, and there's someone powerful, and like we never would have known, but like I don't know, whatever. Like I think that could be really, really cool. And my go-to is going to be Mobius, because I think something we haven't really thought about a lot in this whole Mobius thing. We talked about it early on in our coverage of this show, but like they included Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson is a big name actor. Included Owen Wilson on this Loki show, and it would not surprise me if they have plans for him beyond the show. Yeah. And so like, what if we find out he's a mutant that uses magic? Or like, what if he's something? Or someone else in that room is powerful? Obviously, possibly OB. We've talked about OB a lot.
Yeah.
Being powerful.
Yeah. Would he have been able to use magic at the Void? Or anywhere else, literally?
That's a good question. Oh,
because there's been a couple situations where they were like...
Right. You're totally right.
Used it.
You're totally right. I'm wrong. That's a really good point. It's OB. It's got to be OB.
It's got to be OB, right?
OB or Casey are the only ones in that room who don't leave the TVA.
I hope Casey brings... I mean, we said it. I just want him to bring out the time stone.
Yes. Well, that's the other thing. Any of them could grab the time stone. But Casey with like a time stone in his pocket would just be like amazing. Just like, or like the thing is coming toward them, and then it looks over at Casey, and he's got that like Doctor Strange dial, and he's dialing it back, and like the explosion gets smaller. That would be so freaking good.
He's like, give me that.
He's so freaking good.
That would be awesome.
Okay. I feel like we should at least turn to a few of these, which I think somebody actually said that almost exactly what we're saying. That had it in the feedback. Aiden Wheeler says, I think I know what will happen on episode 5 of Loki. I think at some point Loki stole the time stone from Casey's desk, and now we'll use it to reverse time, and it is now possible in the TVA because the reset of Miss Minutes. And
Loki just has this tick where he can't stop. When he sees a time stone, he just has to take, or an infinity stone, he just has to try to take it.
Yeah, it's what he does. He's been doing it
always
a long time.
Does it. It's just like he doesn't even notice that he's doing it at this point.
Sometimes you just collect infinity stones. You can't really help yourself. All right. I may go back to my notes, but like let's dive into a couple of these Patreon feedbacks because I don't want to leave anybody out. Actually, I guess before we do that, let's take a quick break because I talked us into long enough that it's time for a break. Sorry about that. I'm
no worries.
Just going today. I'm really freaking excited about this show.
I'm glad that you're doing a lot of the talking because I can actually hang a little longer.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, normally I try to be a little more like, okay, I'm going to stop. Even though I could go forever, I'm going to stop and let you have your turn. But, like, I'm like, you're hurting. I'm just going to keep going.
Just keep going. It's perfect. Perfect.
All right, we'll be right back, guys. And we's back.
And we're back. I was like, don't do it. I was like, don't. It was too late. I committed.
All right. Up first, we got Jordan Pierce, one of our patrons, says, how did He Who Remains' body start decomposing if the Citadel beyond time is beyond time? If he didn't grow older, shouldn't he not decompose?
Vampires do when you kill them. So being immortal doesn't mean that when you're not a living thing anymore that you're not going to start to fall apart, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a lot of discussion about like how time operates in this whole thing. It's like it really depends on what all these characters' immortality is based on, because it obviously if time doesn't exist and that is what their immortality is based on, then like yeah, sure, maybe it shouldn't decompose. But but we know that time kind of exists because things happen sequentially. So time is passing for the observer, at least, for the characters. So what does that mean for them actually aging and such? And so I've kind of assumed that there's some other technology that is preventing aging among the TVA agents and He Who Remains.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe not.
Can I get some of that technology?
Yeah.
I need a little bit, just a little bit under my eyes.
Yeah, we'll read ads for it. We promise. Sharon, one of our patrons, says, how can Miss Minutes erase people's memories? Like how? She can't even touch them. Second thought spurred, couldn't Miss Minutes take control of a robot? Like she did that with that machine. The box squisher, I think she means. For all time, always, Sharon.
I don't know. Do they have chips on them or something? Like, do they have any kind of?
Yeah, maybe she has something that's restricting her. Like, you know, you can set up an AI and you can give it some basic rules. And he did let her work on herself, but maybe she has some core tenets that don't allow her to create a body or don't allow her to do certain things. It's my best explanation.
How can, like, they're erasing people's minds? That's a good point. Like, how is she able to do that?
Yeah, well, he says activate protocol 42 or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So, like, I'm assuming that has more to do with the technology of the TVA. Maybe they turn up the pie juice or whatever.
It's got to be the pie stuff.
It's got to be the pie.
But they're right about the robots. I still always think about, like, episode 1, season 1, with the robot question. And it's like, why even have that question if we're never really going to get back to it?
Yeah,
you know?
Well, I agree. I think it could definitely be that. But, like, at the same time, that's a really good point. Like, maybe they have robot detectors throughout the TVA, and like that's one of the reasons they don't want something like a rogue AI. Maybe one of the only challenges that could challenge He Who Remains' intellect. Someone like Ultron or someone.
There's your Mobius. That's what he is.
Ooh, yeah.
Robot.
Mobius is Ultron. That would be crazy.
I would love that.
I would too.
Wow, look at all my people. Wow. Make a whole bunch of little me's. Just doing Pinocchio jokes, you know.
Please let, like, 1,000 Ultron bots be fighting the Avengers, and then yeah, exactly, like a big like Hulk smash, shield grab, lightning bolt from Thor comes at them, and as they're about to explode, they all in unison go, wow. Like big.
It's just, instead of threatening, you know, James Spader, it's just like, oh, you almost got me there, Thor, you know.
Yes,
I can't do the voice right now, but you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like hokey stuff, like, oh, he's a big guy, and look at him smash, you know.
I'm 100% on board for Owen Wilson as Loki. I mean, as Ultron. Golly, names today. Names.
It's a lot of them.
Earth to Chris says, another one of our patrons says, last night's episode cliffhanger blew my mind, but it just clicked for me, I think. I listened to Source Page's early Secret Wars coverage a little while back, and they went through the Time Runs Out story. What if this is the start of that? Time has run out, and the white light of the timeline exploding is going to pull everyone into Battleworld, which could simply be the wasteland at the end of time. Also, I thought about what was said on the reaction cast, and what if Victor Timely had powers and got powers from the machine, and when he evaporates is actually him using powers?
A lot of powers. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a pretty shitty power.
Well, if they hadn't described the spaghettification in the first episode, maybe it could be like him wisping away to travel through the multiverse or whatever, but like, it seems like he got spaghettified, which is what they described happens when that radiation destroys you.
That's not like, why would you send him? Anyway.
I don't know either. I don't know anything about the Time Runs Out storyline, but I like the theory it could be.
We're so far away from Secret Wars, though.
Yeah, that's kind of my issue, is like, if all the timelines just blew up in the TVA, and like, what does it mean? And for the Marvels and Deadpool and like all these movies that Secret Wars has been moved back to like 2027 or whatever. I know. I don't
want to bring all that up again like last week. I was like, what do you mean 2026?
Yeah. But I gotta say, if everything is as good as this Loki episodes have been, like, I would be on board with them making as much as they want to lead me to Secret Wars.
Yeah.
This has been a freaking amazing experience.
They need to really work on what worked here and make that work on other shows.
Yeah, they really need to look at the model of... It's always something we talk about in almost every show we cover, and it's like the balance of overarching storytelling versus serialization.
Even 6 episodes, every episode's like 50 minutes. That's all we're asking for. Yeah. Don't have 6 episodes and have it be 30 minutes, 32 minutes, whatever. Like, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
And that's just time.
That's just the time issue, yeah. Like, it's almost, it feels, it's evidence of that whole old thing we've talked about a million times, which is just they're just chopping a movie up, and they're just finding places where it seems convenient to chop a movie up instead of like really giving us like episodic storytelling that's like powerful.
Like that's what this has felt like the whole time, and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
Because usually we're all pissed off at a cliffhanger, like, no!
Yeah.
This one, everybody was thrilled.
No, if it's done right. Well, it's also a cliffhanger not at the end of a season. It's a cliffhanger that's like, oh man, we get to freak out for a week. Like we all get to feel the uneasiness of a cliffhanger. And all the Instagram disappeared. And all the people who were given the DVDs of this ahead of time were like only given access to the first 4 episodes. Like that
was my source.
Yeah. Exactly. So like, all these people writing about the show don't know. Nobody knows anything about these last 2 episodes. And it just feels great. It feels fun.
Pumped up.
Yeah. And as for the Time Runs Out storyline, everybody go check out Source Pages, their coverage of the Time Runs Out storyline, because I don't even know what happens in the Time Runs Out storyline.
No. See, I'm getting to the point with Marvel and stuff, like, I don't know if I want to know anymore. I'd rather just be impressed by what they're doing in the movie instead of somewhat a little disappointed to be like, you didn't do what I wanted you to do. Blah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You didn't do the
and
thing
I think that was Secret Invasion's fault. I'm like, okay, I just want to be on the new timeline or whatever we're doing here.
Yeah. I really do feel like Loki is a watermark for them to aim for. It's like the thing they should be. This is what the MCU is right now for me. Like like He Who Remains is introduced here. We got Kang here. My favorite version of Kang so far. Like this is the MCU for me. And like, what else are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to bring all these characters into this big multiversal story that I am absolutely loving the way they're telling it here? Can you expand that out? Can you bring like, and it goes to the problem you were talking about, how like some people are confused and some people are not enjoying it. Like that's totally fair, But how do you bring this kind of storytelling to the masses in a way that maintains the integrity of it while bringing more people in? Like, it's okay if Loki isn't for everybody. It's not okay if an Avengers movie isn't for everybody. Like, it just doesn't, it doesn't work.
Oh, they haven't had the chance to mess one of those up yet. So they best keep, like, and that's when I get to the point where I'm like, okay, keep pushing it until it's perfect. Don't put out some C minus grade movie just because you have to. You don't.
Yeah, you don't. And you're hurt. And every year that you put out stuff you shouldn't, you're hurting the brand and making it impossible to bring people back to. You were the most powerful company in the world 6 months ago or whatever. It's like, it has not been long since you were the most like powerful movie franchise, and now things are starting to look. People are getting scared, and like it's also not just them, it's like the entire industry of franchises is hurting.
Oh my god, yeah.
And
because of Marvel, people are franchising that shouldn't. Like, I love my horror, but Jason Blum from Blumhouse, he needs to sit the hell down. Not everything needs to be a franchise. We had to franchise Halloween again. You have to franchise The Exorcist he's trying to do. He's franchising Megan. He's franchising this, and I'm like, stop it.
Blum. This is far off from our Marvel discussions, but Blum seems like he's really forgetting his core competency, which is like creating new original stuff that is cheap and you don't have to pay the rights. You just make something interesting and it gets into theaters. Like, he's trying to play the big Marvel game instead of playing Moneyball, which is how he built his studio. Yeah.
And because I had a lot of respect for him years ago, because he would give people chances to get their films out there.
Right.
We would all joke like he was just like doing every movie, but they were good.
Right.
Now it's like, still be original. Like, even Megan, I was like, that was okay.
Have you ever heard much about his business model? There's some really interesting, like, I don't know what podcast. I think it was Planet Money, maybe. It was one of those like NPR, like just talking about industry and like financial stuff. I think it was a Planet Money episode about Blumhouse and how they work, and it's really interesting. And this was 10 years ago this podcast came out, but so it was a long time ago. And this is how that studio got big with like Paranormal Activity and all that stuff. And what they did is they didn't pay much for their movies, and like even the ones that had big stars in them, they would not pay them ahead of time. They would like negotiate a deal where they paid a bunch of money off the back end and not a lot up front. So like I remember they talk about like what's that one with, like, there's a movie with like the Blumhouse made with like J-Lo, where there's like a boy next door who she has a love affair with, and like she has to fight him, and like he goes nuts. He starts stalking her or whatever.
Gotta watch out for those younger men.
I know you do. Watch out, Ashley. Watch out.
I know.
It's in the house. He's in the house.
He's playing video games, my little boy.
Your little boy.
My little baby boy. Well, we are at that weird age where he's just turned 34 and I'm 39, and I just don't think it sounds right. It's better when he's 38, 39, and I'm like 41, 42. That doesn't, but yeah, I'm like,
it's
like
funny.
Leonardo DiCaprio over here.
No. I think 5 years, I feel like, is very normal. It is often gender swapped from what you have, though. Like, a lot of times the man is 5 years older than the lady, and that's like that's very like so don't let the patriarchy get you down. Like, no, it's totally normal.
I snatched him right out of the cradle. Couged right up. I knew what I was doing.
Coog up. But anyway, so Blumhouse, this is really interesting. Their business model is basically their stars. They don't pay them a lot up front. They pay them like their daily or lowest flat rate for daily, and then they pay them some big chunk on the back end. And so the stars and the directors and everyone is like motivated to make the movie a thing. And if the movie fails, Blumhouse didn't spend much. So what they did in their early days is they would make like 100 movies a year, and it was just a matter of like, then they would pick like, oh, this is the one to push into theaters because it's going to be great. So they were financing all these cheap movies, and then some of them were like the cream rose to the top, and then they would like do their thing. And so, like, it's a really interesting way of making movies. And then the ones that did terrible end up on late night cable or whatever. Like, they just go straight to DVD or whatever. Like, they don't make their money back, but he does 100 bets. And if he gets one Paranormal Activity, it pays for all of them, you know?
Especially a Paranormal Activity, where they're like, we spent $5,000 on this and made 100,000 million back. Like, it was insane.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a really, really cool business model. And it creates like a bunch of creativity. Like, it lets all these creators get their vision made. Yeah. So like 100
now
films
I'm just
get made.
like, dude, go back to that.
Yeah.
I don't need 3 more Exorcist movies.
Yeah, totally. All right. Rachel Mundy, one of our patrons, says, OMG! I'm not sure I'm ever going to recover from that spaghetti explosion that was Victor Timely. I literally can't stop picturing it. It's been 18 hours. I read a theory that they may all wake up on the timeline and there's just no TVA, but infinite Kangs in the untamed multiverse of actual madness. Love your theories in your reaction cast. I played it immediately after watching to try to calm down. So many, many thanks as always, and love you 3000. Thank you, Rachel.
I'd like that. What if they all just woke up on the sacred timeline or something like that?
I like it. I think that could be really, really interesting. Especially like if season 3 was like telling. This is the problem though. Like, we don't know if we're getting a season 3, but like, where do the stories go? And like, if you've got 2 episodes left, so these episodes started with them all sort of in different places, and we had to get Sylvie back into they had to go get her from McDonald's, and like they had to find Brad, and like they had to kind of figure out. It feels like this has just coalesced, and I don't want everyone to get thrown back to the wind and have to find their way back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would want them together. We've already done that enough.
Yeah. Well, not only together, I want them together, and I want them to know what's going on. I want them to have access to like whatever they need to get to the final fight. You know, I want to see what happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're right.
But if this was the last episode and they announced tomorrow that they had like 6 shows coming out in 2024, like a Casey show and a and a Loki show and a Sylvie, and they're all just on different places on the timeline, like I would be so into it. And they wouldn't even have to like
it could be short.
Well, they wouldn't have to be big budget. You know, we always talk about how they could make Marvel things that exist in the Marvel universe that aren't big superhero spectacle. They could just, like, what if we just had Casey, like, works at a record store and, like, you kind of see the changes that are happening to the timeline as Kangs are fighting in the background and taking over, and he's, like, living some other life and he doesn't know what's going on. Maybe he does know what's going on and he's sort of trying to figure out what to do, but he also has to just, like, live in the 60s at a record store or something. I don't know, like... Yeah.
I'd want to stay too.
Yeah.
We still didn't get that yet, did we? From the trailer where the Sylvie is somewhere and the record is completely unraveling, spaghetti style.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I thought that was a really good analogy for like the circle, the Ouroboros, and the like a record, because of how a record is kind of made.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's that scene where it's floating towards her, just completely unspiraling.
Okay. Like, I think that's what we're getting. And it's just a matter of like what that looks like. Because
that kind of looks like the spaghetti stuff now that. Huh. I wonder if they're going to start hiding in the timelines and everything's just going to be.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I couldn't remember the exact scene you're talking about. Yeah, there is that like scene we haven't seen yet. That is them like somewhere else on the timeline, I think. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that is. That's going to be interesting. I just don't know where we go from here at all.
I have no idea.
I have my theories, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be completely separate from what I'm thinking or whatever. All right, Rachel Titsworth, another one of our patrons, says, "Hey y'all. Side note, Miss Minutes has really sullied one of my favorite Southern expressions."
Aww.
So, what does Ravona know about Victor Timely's device, and why was she so insistent on finding it? I'm guessing Miss Minutes filled her in on what it can do. It looks identical to Kang's device in Quantumania. But what role does it play going forward in the Loki series? Also, did you notice the scorch marks on the top half of the temporal scanner? No wonder Victor was hesitant to put his head in there.
Yeah, I was not. I saw that too. I was like,
Oh man, I didn't see that. It's funny. Lastly, my favorite quote of the episode, Victor calling Miss Minutes the effervescent clock lady monster thing. Marvelous.
He nailed it much better than my little name for her. Much better. No, I'm just going to call her Menace.
Ooh, Miss Menace. Ooh,
Miss Menace.
I love that line. And then there's the effervescent clock lady monster thing.
Who is in love with me and hates me at the same time. It's very weird.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Renslayer and...
You'll never be him.
You'll never be him. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I'd be like, you'll never have a body, bitch. So petty.
Oh, man. I didn't notice the thing about that device looking similar to the one in Quantumania.
The thing that he was holding, the ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. There was some differences, because I feel like that thing also was like his throne in Quantumania too, or it was his thing, so that was like
it's just the ball. He says it's a prototype. I wonder if that...
Maybe that was the prototype
is the prototype for the bigger ball later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good...
Because it did look like it. That thing was spinning. It almost kind of looks like Faustus. But what the hell's the guy's name from the Eternals?
Faustus, yeah.
Faustus. Yeah, his technology magic too.
Yeah,
because I'm like, they gotta throw something about the Eternals in here at some point besides just posters of goddamn Kinko or whatever. Like, that is the only thing that they do with the Eternals to make them fun. They're like, yeah, they're part of it. Here's a poster.
Yeah.
Because we keep saying the 10 rings, and we keep saying this, and we keep saying that technology, and they all kind of look the same, but we never really just...
The Miss Marvel bands, like all that stuff, seems like it's all crossing over, but it does feel like we've been saying that for 4 years, and we're not seeing any of it.
It's not coming anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Eric Capaz says, one of our patrons, says, hello to Papa Panda, Queen Ashley, and Steampunk Douchebag. I just finished watching Loki episode 4, and I had a theory about the end. I haven't finished the podcast yet, so you may talk about it, but I had to get it down before I forgot. I think that the discussion earlier in the episode about OB getting the information for the book from Victor and Victor getting the inspired by the book from OB is foreshadowing for the whole season. Side note, I laughed out loud in the gym when OB said it was like a snake eating its own tail and got some very odd looks. I love that line so much, like the lack of recognition, so good. I don't think that Victor died at the end, but rather was spaghettified. He was actually creating all the Kang variants across all the different universes. Ooh, interesting. Which will start the multiversal war and create the Council of Kangs. This will eventually lead to He Who Remains and the creation of the TVA, and the whole cycle will continue. This means that one of the Kangs that is created is Victor Timely, who must exist for the cycle to start again, and He Who Remains will be aware of this and put things in place for the cycle to continue, i.e. sending Miss Minutes and Ravonna with the TVA manual to him. It is all like one big snake eating its own tail. 3,000 love to all. Eric Capaz. Eric, thank you.
It could be anything.
I think he's like very much on to something, and I know I've like talked about my take on it, which is very similar to what he's talking about, which I think is exactly what's going on. I don't know about the spaghettified Kang going to all the places. It's a good theory though. It's good.
Yeah.
But it could definitely create a lot of different Kangs if he's just like dropped in various places on the timeline with all his intellect and stuff.
Yeah.
That's neat. I like that. But I think the big thing is like, it's all on a loop and they still don't know it. Like last season, He Who Remains says, I paved the road. You walked it every step. Like he knew exactly what they were going to do. And, you know, I think this season's basically going to be the same thing. Like we're just going to get to the end. It seems like they've gotten out of everything and then it's just going to be like, it is exactly what Eric's saying. But then how does that end? Except you have to actually break out of the loop. So like,
Yeah.
I think the loop has to get broken, or it doesn't, and we end this entire multiverse saga with a He Who Remains on the throne, and we just have everything back down to one timeline, and then everything matters again, like there's no more multiverse.
I would love that.
It could be a cool way to handle it. It does feel a little weird that there's no free will after that, though. Like everything will feel like a part of someone's plan, which is kind of weird. Still got a few more patrons emails to get to, and we still got lots more feedback, but we're going to go, I could go all day here. Like I could do this all day, but we're going to take, so we're going to take a quick break and be right back. And we are back.
We are back. Much more controlled this time.
much more. Your voice is just like getting warmed up. You're opening up over there.
Well, that's when we first started talking, I realized I hadn't said anything in like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, that'll do it, man. Like not talking at all will like really lock you up. Okay. Andre Sparks, another one of our patrons, says, "Hey, Matt and Ashley, or special guest host. I loved how the beginning of the episode started with the timeline and sound from it. Like the episode of last season, you can clearly see how much the timeline has fractured. But let's get down to the nitty gritty. The real question is, WTF is temporal radiation?" Victor Tomley described it as power during his demonstration in episode 3. What if it's the same power as the Bifrost? Interesting. It deals with transportation and time and space. Maybe because Loki is Asgardian, that's why... Asgardian-ish. That's why he can survive it and save the multiverse. Is that what caused Loki's time slipping? This is what gives them a chance to try again? Is this his glorious purpose? Ooh, I like that. Can't wait for Thursday. Keep up the good work. Andre.
Well, that's what I was thinking. If they figure out how to time slip, they can go back. But I'm like, they did, I'm just over them being like, oh, we just travel back in time and we can fix everything. Like, I just don't. We just did that with Endgame. If they just keep doing that with time travel to get out of every problem, it's going to get real old.
Well, I push back in that I don't think they've done that. They do the time travel.
They did it in Endgame.
They didn't. They specifically didn't do that. They don't go back and fix something that fixes the future. They go back and collect the stones and then have to go put them back. Like they borrow something.
Still just I just mean time travel as your way to solve the problem.
But what they specifically haven't done is the thing where you just go back and undo the problem. Like, which is what's so beautiful about Endgame. It's a time travel story, yes, but it's not what we all assumed it would be when we started watching Endgame, which is like, Endgame, they're just going to make it like it never happened. They're going to undo what he did. They're going to we said that over and over. They didn't. They had a 5-year gap with no people. Like half the universe disappeared. They had stakes. They kept the stakes going. And then when they go back, they don't actually change anything from the past except for this Loki getting away, which causes this show. But they just borrow things. It becomes just a like scavenger hunt for the Infinity Stones on a big level, which I love. I love that they have so far had the self-control to not do the things that make time travel suck. So far. Yeah. And I get it. Yeah. I get that like if it's really like confusing and you're not understanding what's happening, like time travel can just feel like it's like a catch-all. But so far, like these characters don't have control over time. So they're kind of reacting, and it's like, that's how Loki works. Like the show works because these characters don't really have all the control over everything yet. Like they've been like under the thumb of He Who Remains, and now everything's chaotic, and they're just like rolling with the punches as they go. And I think that's what makes the show work. If like you get to the end of this and Loki has time to just go back and fix things, like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or something, where they like use the thing to we need future Bill to record a recording that says this so our dad will walk out of the room. Like that kind of stuff is like, that's silly, and I don't want them to do that. Okay, maybe they could do that once as a like homage.
Yeah.
Speaking of homages, this was in my notes. I knew I'd get around to some more of my notes eventually. Speaking of homages, I felt like it being a time travel show, and them trying to do something where they're like shooting this thing to dock with the timeline and everything is a Back to the Future reference. Like, one of my favorite scenes in Back to the Future is the exposition scene when Doc has the little model that he's created and it doesn't have any paint on it, which is kind of like he says, I only had time for one coat of paint. Doc, when he opens up that thing, he's like, I haven't had time to paint it or whatever. Like there's just like it's just a model, and he's like, it's a crude model. Like, it's kind of the same sort of thing, and OB is sort of Doc Brown in that moment, and I love it so much.
Yeah, that's funny.
Love that. Love it. Okay. Andre also said, is that what causes Loki's time slipping? Oh, the Asgardian thing. We never even got around to talking about Andre's feedback here about the Asgardian. He's not Asgardian is the problem.
He's not Asgardian. He's from a completely different planet.
Yeah, no, it's like you were saying, it's very possible that he can use his frost giant powers, or maybe, if Andre's theory is right, that like the Bifrost is the same radiation, maybe it's his exposure to the Bifrost over the thousands of years. Maybe that has made him resilient to it or something. Like, I can see something there for sure. So maybe. I love the idea of this show ending, or this Loki's arc ending with a glorious purpose. Like, I know we've seen it with Old Man Loki in season 1, which was it was so touching to see him get his glorious purpose. But I'd like to see it. I'd love to see that for this Loki eventually.
Me too, as long as it's not him dying for it.
Yeah, I have a feeling it might be.
I know. Tommy Hidd's not doing anything else. You can play Loki for the next 15 years.
Come on, Tommy Hidd.
Come on, Tommy Hidds.
Okay. Up next, I think this is our last patron feedback. Timothy Castillo, one of our patrons, says, so much happened in episode 4, but of all of them, one of the things that I feel like is a funny what if is that Victor Timely is the guy Jordan Peele is playing in the Key and Peele sketch Continental Breakfast. His mannerisms, such as how he says la-di-da all the time loom, and how he is so intrigued by the hot chocolate machine, just reminded me of that sketch. And at the end of the sketch, you find out that the character is timeless or time traveling, being because he is in the photograph from the 30s.
That's fun.
I've seen all of Key and Peele, but I don't remember that sketch, so I can't comment. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway, could the point at which Loki prunes himself be a mistake? They are building up to that moment, so it obviously is a pivotal moment. Is the next episode going to be a Groundhog Day, love a good time loop episode? Watch out for that first step. It's a doozy. Interesting. Like he gets a chance to the thing I like about this theory, the idea of them like trying to relive it or fix what they did, is the last line of the episode is, I don't know what we did wrong.
Was that OB?
I can't remember. It's either, it's kind of, they all say something similar. Like, they all kind of like go, what did we do wrong? I don't know. And like, there's like a few people that kind of have a piece of that moment where they're all just sort of staring at the end coming and going like, we did it all right. We did that. We followed the steps. We followed the path laid out for us, and we didn't solve anything. I could absolutely see them doing some sort of time loop episode where they're going around and they're going back and forth and trying to fix things. But what they'd have to be doing is trying to break out of the loop that He Who Remains has set up, which could be really interesting. So I could totally see them doing an episode or where they have like a time loop where they're trying to figure out what they need to change exactly to get out of He Who Remains as a loop. If they realize this is like, no, we did everything right. It's just there is no right, because like He Who Remains planned all this for us.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Like a Happy Death Day situation. You just have to keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah, I haven't seen Happy Death Day. But
yeah. Oh, you didn't? You would really like it.
Yeah, I saw the trailers and I was like, that's definitely up my alley. Timothy continues. Oh, and as to the boxed people, I'm pretty sure they're all a pile a la Glenn's head. Ugh. Oh. Gross.
I'm sure it's much worse than that. Everybody was so freaked out about that on Walking Dead. It didn't faze me at all. people like, I'm not watching this show anymore because they killed Glenn. I'm like, it is a apocalypse zombie show. People got to go.
Yeah. Well, the whole show is sort of predicated on this thing of like, it sucks, but like the first 6 episodes of that show are so good.
So good.
So good that the biggest problem with that show is they never figure out how to hand off the show to more people because they never figure out how to establish new characters. So it became too dependent on the same ever dwindling cast of characters. And now we're like literally, I don't even know how many seasons in. Like they finished that show, right? I don't know.
Now it's like Norman Reedus his spinoff show is in France.
Mm-hmm.
There's Rick and Michonne because I was like, what happened, Rick?
Yep.
What happened, Andrew Lincoln? You had to come crawling back. Bye. Wasn't as good on the other side. You know?
Well, did you see?
We watched until he left because after Rick left, we were just like, "What?" I like the other character. Like I like Norman Reedus' character, but he's not the star of the show. So when the star of the show is out, we were done, and I felt released.
I love that. I love a lot of that show, and I have moments. It has moments of glory, but like, yeah, it never reached the heights of the season 1, which is a real problem. No. And so they just kept hitting those same season 1, and I would say season 2 is similar. I love season 2.
Season 2 was really hard because they just kept looking for that little girl, and the whole time they're like, little girl, whatever her damn name was.
Well, the thing about it is, like, that show, it was a different creator. People didn't like the second season. I love the second season. I think it is great. I think it's great television. And it's like Frank Darabont, I think, directing, and it's just like killers, absolutely, or maybe show running. I think that second season is really great, and I could go into detail as why, but it would just be all spoilery. But after the second season, they've added like one character that people care about, and that's Michonne, and like every other character has been like, they bring them in and they're just fodder for the zombies. And like they really try, but like no one else catches on. So when they kill one of those first cast members, people are out. They're like, no, I'm done. He's the reason I watched the show.
Yeah. And see, I thought that was a really good way to bring in the villain and really show you, oh, this guy is bad. Because I liked
Negan.
Negan. I was like, vegan.
Vegan. I will take it back. Michonne is one of the last characters they brought in that I care about, but I really care about Negan. Especially what they've done with him even since Andrew Lincoln left the show.
Oh, isn't his spinoff with Maggie, or was that
Yes.
Oh my God. Please stop making these shows.
The whole thing. Like, I don't know. I haven't watched them. I can't say if they're good or bad.
I watched the first episode of the Norman Reedus one. It's not great.
Oh,
because it was Joe Bob Briggs was hosting it on Shudder. So when he'll do that for AMC, he'll host the first episode of the new series. Okay. So I watched that one, and I watched whatever the other spinoff one was. It wasn't them, Michonne or anybody. I can't remember what it was.
Fear the Walking Dead?
Yeah, it was something like that.
I watched Fear the Walking Dead. Fear the Walking Dead pissed me off because one of the things I don't like about Walking Dead, I love Walking Dead, the first 2 seasons especially, but like one of the things I don't like is that something that all zombie movies do is they skip the downfall of society.
Yeah.
And Fear the Walking Dead pitched itself as, now we get to see what happened. Like that's what they, all the trailers were like, now we get to really see how society fell. And they start over and start the story from before the fall, and they tell it through the fall.
Right.
And they did like one episode before the fall, and then they jumped 6 weeks ahead and the fall already happened. And I was like, what, why did you pitch the show that way? Like, I would have been fine if you're just telling me this is a different story, but like you kind of did the same thing that Walking Dead did that I didn't like. Okay. Back to Loki, because we got still so much. Okay. Well, now that Timothy made us do a big detour onto Walking Dead just by mentioning Glenn's head, we'll get back to some feedback. We got a bunch from people who are not patrons, and we appreciate you guys as well. And first off, let me just say, if you do like your feedback even more prioritized, we do always try to do our feedback from our patrons first. So go to patreon.com/MCUcast and join up.
Woo.
We love making the show and want to make more of it. So up first, Brayson Wong says, "Hello, Jam. What a wild ride this season has been so far. What a cliffhanger. I was not expecting Victor Timely to turn into string cheese a la Mr. Fantastic circa Earth 838. I was starting to really like him. I know he's a Kang, but he seemed kind. Also,
did he?
I thought he did. I like him. The hot chocolate says everything. The hot chocolate says, right?
No, I mean, if I'm somebody from the past and I see any kind of technology, like it could have been anything. Well, no. You'd just be like, oh my God.
It's not that. That made total sense. I don't think we mentioned it yet, but I love that he's fascinated with the chocolate machine because like with his like refrigerator chair, you know, I love the idea that he's like not only fascinated with time fracturing engineering, he's fascinated with just like comfort stuff. I think that's really cute.
Yeah.
But the part I'm talking about with Coco is him giving it to his guard. And it looked like a trick, but it wasn't a trick. And it was just like him being nice. And that like shows his kindness. I really like that very small scene. Okay, continuing Brayson's feedback. Also, seeing the way the loom was exploding like that was very reminiscent of Thor and Eitri at Nidavellir. I was hoping to see Loki head out there and bear the force of the loom's radiation before fixing it. Yeah, exactly. But I'm very pleasantly surprised at the direction that they took with this episode. That's all. Can't wait for the next episode. I'm dying to see what happens. Love your show. Looking forward to the instant reaction. Brayson Wong. P.S. Kehu Kwan's "It's like a snake eating its own tail" line destroyed me. I
wish he said my line. I wish he said it's like a snake eating its own ass, just like a cute little Kehu Kwang ass.
Yeah.
That's okay, Marvel.
Yeah, it's okay, Marvel. We understand. You gotta keep it clean to some degree. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We got more feedback to come right after this. All right, we're back with some more feedback. Greg N says, "Hello, variants. Wow, what an episode. Is this the best MCU content released since Endgame or No Way Home? I think it could be." Yeah, I think so.
It's not better than Multiverse of Madness. I'm sorry.
I like it better. I do.
Yeah. Well, you guys can be wrong.
This is better for me. Like it's I like Multiverse of Madness. I'm not saying it's bad, but I Loki season 1 and 2 are better than are more my taste than that. Which I obviously get is not the case for you. No. You love that Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, that's why people do like. The way you just said it was perfect.
Right.
It's what's for you.
Yeah.
But being like, is this... No. Not for everybody.
Well, I think those kinds of... Just like you just said I was wrong. I know you're joking.
Well, I was joking down on it because that's how people... Yeah.
Right.
If you're going to present it like that, I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
There is no wrong here. We know. I think it could be, but I think by far the best episode of any Marvel Disney Plus show thus far. Ooh. I would say, see, the last episode of season 1 is better. But
I think so too.
I do love this episode. And it makes me excited because this episode reminds me of episode 5. Like the same kind of cliffhanger when they beat Goliath. When they beat Goliath and they open up the Citadel and they walk through, it's just like that same sort of like, what happens now? And then they paid it off so well in season 1. And so that makes me really excited for the last 2. Really excited. Okay, continuing with Greg N's feedback. With that said, I have a theory. Tell me if I'm thinking too much into this. Listen, Greg. I will not be one to tell you you're thinking too much into this. I might tell you I disagree, but I will not tell you you're thinking too much into this. That's my whole thing. I think this has been He Who Remains / Victor Timely's plan all along. Watching the episode a second time just now, and when Victor became so fascinated with the hot cocoa machine, it hit me. It was quite out of character for him, and while it makes sense for someone from the 19th century to be fascinated by a machine that makes hot cocoa, I think he's acting. He knew Miss Minutes took control of the system or would be, and that Mobius would be distracted enough to be okay with him leaving with the guard to go alone. Where he then knew Renslayer would have Bradley X5 going for him / the equipment. He was purposely delaying Ravonna, Miss Minutes, X5 in the boardroom, knowing Loki / Sylvie were on their way. He needed Ravonna and Miss Minutes out of the picture in order to have the loom explode and reset the timelines and let the variants loose, or whatever is going to happen going forward. That part I haven't figured out yet. What are your thoughts? Is it plausible?
I think we kind of talked about that. You think that he wasn't messing around and that he was being sincere.
I do. I think that Victor was sincere, but it is possible that Victor is a participant in this whole He Who Remains plan.
Right.
It's very
possible.
possible.
I don't trust him.
It's very, very possible. But in my opinion, so if we combine this with a theory we heard earlier, which is the spaghettification pushed him out and filled the universes with Kangs in different places. Like, if that's what spaghettification does, that is really cool. And that could mean the timeline is not only branching. And so, as far as I understand it, the timelines, okay, I'm just now piecing all this together. But is the loom what prevents incursions?
Maybe. That makes a lot of sense.
It does. I never really thought about it that way. But we saw in the Sacred Timeline, the first season, all those threads that we presumed were different offshoot timelines being weaved together seamlessly and kind of matching each other and never crossing. So maybe He Who Remains is Sacred Timeline, as we always theorize, has these different jet outs and different changes, but they're not different enough, or they never collide. He is the loom. This device has been looming the timelines together so they never collide. And for He Who Remains to rise again and be the Kang that defeats and wins the multiversal war, there has to be a multiversal war. So the incursions have to happen. So maybe this is all part of He Who Remains' plan, but it's not the part of the plan where he wins. It's the part of the plan where he kicks off the war.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. And if he installed Victor timely, either as a willing participant or as a variant that he's using to build his technologies, which is what I think. Because I think Victor Timely is just a good dude who's trying to do his best, and he was given a tough go of it as a Kang because he had he was put at a time where he didn't have the technology to become the Einstein. They say it this episode, which I loved because we had theorized about that, and then when they say it this episode, I was like, oh, that's so good.
I just go back to what he did with Ravonna, though. I can't just the way he turned on her so quickly with Miss Minutes and left her behind.
Yeah, I think that's just you shipping them, though. I don't know.
No, I mean, it's he was acting I don't know. That was pretty
right.
Shady to do.
You're totally right. Completely unconnected from theories.
This person's helping you, gave you the book.
Yeah.
Trying to tell you everything that's going on.
Yeah. And it's that, he does have a problem with partners, which he does say multiple times, it's his thing. He doesn't, I think part of his whole character is that he doesn't trust anyone. He doesn't he's not part of a team. I don't think he's a evil force necessarily, but he does have a big trust issues. Yeah.
I don't think I would have picked the clock to trust over Ravonna, Miss Minutes.
Yeah, but maybe he just thought of her as He Who Remains did, as a piece of technology that he could control. And Ravonna was a person. And that's when Miss Minutes flips and says you never gave me a body, you never made me your equal. That's when he's no, I'm done with you too, So he's just, he never really wants an equal. He never wants a partner. He's always throwing them away, which I'm really interested by, because I don't know if that just shows what parts of Kang as a character are universal to all Kangs. You know what I mean?
Right.
The confidence trickster, from these first two we know, really the first three we know. I didn't think about this. The Confidence Man, right? We have I freaking love this. I love the MCU, man. I'm having so much fun. I really am. Because, like, Quantum Mania didn't hit as hard as we wanted it to. But right now, I just had a great thought about Quantum Mania. And it's that he cons the Wasp. Like, he tricks her into helping him, save him. Like, that's his whole, like, that's how he, like, that's the tact he takes. So, like, I'm getting, like, chill bumps thinking about the way they tie that together. That is so cool. Like, He Who Remains created the Timekeepers to con the TVA. And then Victor Timely is conning everyone. That's his whole thing in the, like, 1900s. And then that's exactly the way that the Kang the Conqueror in Quantum Mania tricks the Wasp. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's good.
That is good, man. That is good. Oh, okay. Sorry. I love this show. And by that, I mean the MCU. Like, I love it all.
Yep.
So back to Greg. I think it is totally plausible. I think you're onto it. My personal belief is that Victor Timely is a patsy, and that we're going to learn that in this next episode, that Victor Timely was just part of He Who Remains' plan. And we're going to see who, like, really is holding the reins of this whole, like, that little action of having a variant hidden in time in a place where he could write to OB, and, like, a place where they could drop that book to a version of him. That is his entire plan of, like, maybe it's not his only action, but it's like an action that was simple enough to keep under the radar and to protect his rise and the multiversal war, and then his rise to become He Remains again.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Ashley, thanks for hanging out with me so long. We talked before we started. Your voice was hurting, so it was like, well, just go whenever you need to. So thanks for hanging this long.
Yeah, I got it, man. We're good. We're good. I'm letting you do your thing.
I'm just having fun, man. I want to talk about all these people.
Well, I just read ahead a little bit on the next one, and I think you're gonna laugh. So go right into the next one, honestly. All right,
here we go. Elliot Perdon says, Loki is awesome. The end? Well, not really. With regards to your theory about Victor being a spare part, I think he was.
See?
Yeah.
It just went right into it.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think you were right. Doesn't Kang need the universe to break and the multiversal war to happen so that he can end up back at the end of time again? So far, we have seen him in the time after the war, but the snake always eats its tail. In Ant-Man, Kang mentions Thor and the Avengers, so that version has fought the battle, and the heroes have tried to stop him before. I feel like this is a necessary Nexus event for Kang, and he knew all of this would happen. Maybe it's necessary for the entire multiverse. He is still pulling the strings.
I like it.
I like it too. Only thing that has me questioning this is Miss Minutes. Is she playing his game, or is she truly out on her own? If she's on her own, has that happened before, or after trillions of years, has she finally had enough? Also, I have a theory on another platform that the pies are made from the dead TVA employees.
What?
Oh, no. Oh, man. I didn't know that TVA employees tasted like lemon meringue.
You can make people taste whatever you want.
You got the technology
just
for it.
Just a little seasoning. Yeah.
Just a little seasoning. Creepy, but also, it's continuing Elliot's feedback. Creepy, but also, I don't see any farms around the TVA. Where does the food come from?
I think it's like The Fifth Element, where they just push a button, they're like, chicken, and then a giant chicken appears in the microwave.
I don't remember that in the Fifth Element.
No, she's like, oh, chicken, ... and she just puts it in the microwave and it comes out. She's like, oh, chicken.
Yeah. It's the little bitty thing and it expands. They do that in the Back to the Future too. They have the little bitty pizza. They rehydrate you. He says, no one rehydrates a pizza like you, Mom. And it's like a little bitty pizza and it turns into a huge pizza.
Very funny.
Love it. Elliot says, anyways, what a show. Love the content. Thanks for the shows. Thank you, Elliot. Appreciate you. Yes, why you got to go there? Like, why you got to go to eating people? This is not Soylent Green.
Yeah, well,
I mean, sure, it could be, but they've got like all those structures all over. Like when you look out in season 1, you see the window. Actually, I think it's in one of these episodes too this season, and you see like the full TVA and all the buildings. They could have some hydroponic gardens going, you know?
Yeah, they got some roof gardens going on. Yeah, I don't know.
100%.
Plus, it's like the future. Maybe they just eat astronaut food, you know?
Yeah,
like those little bags of, what is it? The astronaut ice cream.
Yeah, the little dots,
the little balls,
little dots, and yeah, totally.
We know they have gum.
Yeah, they had gum. They got pie. They eat anything else in the TVA?
I can't think about if they were eating anything else.
I guess they could get anything. Like, hey, we need you to prune this timeline, but while you're going down there, hey, that's how they could get all their food. Like, they could like send
could steal.
The hunters. Well, the hunters could just like go through drive-throughs while they're. I'll trade you an Infinity Stone.
I love this McDonald's. Yeah, for a Big Mac.
Yeah, give me a Big Mac for an Infinity Stone, and then like immediately prune the timeline. Like that's how it works. So yeah, Elliot, you're talking a lot of the same. You had a well-formed theory here in your email that is like a lot of the elements we've been talking about, with the fact that like the multiversal war has to happen. I think you're totally right, and I think that's the thing. This show feels like it's off the rails. Things are going crazy, and then at the end of the season, I think the multiversal war will start, and Loki will realize like everything they did led them right to where Kang wanted what he wanted to happen, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Or we'll see He Who Remains, like the version, you know?
That's what I want. I want him to come back.
I would love
that guy.
Like, he could step into the final season and be like, I'm here, I'm going to win this universal war. Like we've talked, you know, I got messages from myself. I know what's happening. Like, I know the whole timeline. I'm here to build my sacred timeline. You all work for me now, blah, blah, blah. And then Sylvie just stabs him through again.
He did tell her, like, see you soon.
He did.
So what do you mean by soon? Because I need it to be like soon.
Yeah, like soon? Soon? Okay, up next we have Regina says, hey guys, long time listener, huge fan. I just finished... Sorry, I'm laughing because like I tried to read these expressively. I'm trying to learn to read them expressively, and I said huge fan, and I didn't like it. Felt self-serving to put that much stank on huge fan when they're talking about ourselves, like huge fan. And I was like, maybe it should be less expressive.
Well, no, she put an exclamation point. I think that's right.
I know. I'm just joking. I'm just teasing. Just teasing.
I know what you mean, though. It's the way we say listeners and not fans.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to, like, hey, you guys we're nothing special. We just like to make the show and talk about this stuff.
Yep.
I'm just happy everybody likes the show. Anyone likes the show. See, even then, I don't want to say everybody. Like, I want to say anybody.
Yeah.
It's like all these words that I try not to, like, sound haughty or whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, well, that's when I said the Loki thing. I'm like, you know, girls of all ages love that. Like, now I have to stop and go, wait, no, everybody likes that. You know, you can't just say it anymore. You know what I mean? It's just little things like you have to adjust and try to.
Oh yeah, well, and it's hard. Part of growing and changing, and like what you're talking about is different. I'm talking about like trying not to sound like we think we're better than we are. Right. But you're talking about like trying to adjust our language with the changing times.
Yeah, so that everybody feels included. Everybody needs a trophy.
Well, I think it's a good thing. And, like, the biggest thing I think is a problem, like, with the generational issue, like, people, like, generational change, right? Like, things change from generation to generation, like, whatever it is. 1 year it was, women started showing their ankles or whatever, you know, like, in the next, like, now it's different generational change. Like, the thing we have to try to do as human beings is not stop changing. You know what I mean? Like, keep changing with the times. Don't be the generation that just holds on to power and tries to keep everything the way we want it. Don't be He Who Remains. Let the timeline go, people. Let the timeline go. Okay, back to Regina's. We made it 5 words into her feedback.
I know.
Long-time listener.
Huge fan. No.
Humongous fan. Like the biggest fan. Okay, now I'm just...
the best.
Now I'm just adding thing. You guys have the best podcast ever. Sorry. I'm just making stuff up. Huge fan. I just finished watching episode 4 of Loki, and none of my friends really get into it like me, so I don't have anyone to geek out with every time I watch an episode. However, episode 4 was such a mind... I have to at least email y'all for the first time to get it out. Haha. Thank you, Regina. Emailing for the first time. That's awesome. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, all capital.
How many emails have had some form of Jesus Christ? And
so many.
Everybody is going to church this week.
So many OMGs and Jesus Christ. Like this one.
Dear Lord.
We all need our Lord and Savior to help us understand this episode. Please, Jesus, take the wheel. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, that was hardcore. So much to dissect, but to start, Marvel is fully embracing the gore, and I'm so here for it. I know Ashley feels a little differently about that, but
they could tone it up a little bit more. You
could take a little more, but like I agree. I think that is such a gross scene.
What's in the box? Let me see what's in the box.
It's a classic. It feels like, I don't know, classic like Hitchcock horror. Like the way B-15 is like looking on and the horror on her face, and that's all you need. And I think
the happiness on Miss Minute's face.
Yeah, and noise. And the noise is all crunching and sliding and sloshing. It's like, oof. Yeah, it's cool. I'll let Regina continue. The dripping noises when the whole team gets put in the box, and Victor's noodle moment at the end. I mean, they did not hold back. I found myself surprisingly clenching my blanket throughout the episode because it was totally filmed like a scary movie. Immediate thoughts and questions and maybe theories. First, is OB a variant of He Who Remains? I was with Ashley that OB could be a variant of Loki. I mean, he does have green on his uniform, but seeing as there's a cycle and that we know how He Who Remains asked Miss Minutes to wipe their memories, could it be that OB is a variant of her instead?
He Who Remains.
Oh. HWR, He Who Remains. Sorry.
Yeah, you got to cap those.
Yeah.
So that we know it's not just a misspelling.
Yeah, cap them or capitalize them or put the dots in.
Dots. Yeah.
But it's okay. I just miss. I thought
you're good at doing that, though. You fix things in the
while I'm reading.
When you're reading,
I try. Okay. We can tackle these one at a time. Let's see. I think it's very possible that OB is a variant of He Who Remains.
I'm gonna say no. I'm going with no.
I like the idea of him being one for some reasons, but what I really am starting to enjoy the idea that he's the magic user or whatever is needed to protect them in this moment.
Yeah. I like it too.
So, like, I think that OB is... I really started to like the theory that OB is someone powerful. I don't know if it's He Who Remains, but I really like the idea of it's someone powerful. Something that I thought about on the first week, but I didn't mention because it felt a little racist, to be honest, was that... Because it just felt like... I'm just saying it because it's an Asian character, but I thought about the idea that OB could be Amadeus Cho from comics.
Yeah, I like that too, though.
I like it too. And what I was thinking is this radiation is rushing at them and they need someone to protect them. And then suddenly powers are unleashed in the TVA. And what if Amadeus Cho, played by Kehu Kwan, becomes a Hulk variant? Or like,
cool.
I think his character's name is Brawn in the comics, but like he's a Hulk. And we met his mom in Age of Ultron.
Yes.
And so it'd be cool. It would be cool. And
that would be pretty cool.
Kehu Kwan as Amadeus Cho would be really good. Yeah, as a Hulk.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
As a Hulk would be rad. And we know that magic was made available, but like what if other powers than magic are also available? Like, what if other powers are being stunted? Like, because they deal with lots of dangerous people, not just magic users. So what if, like, mutant powers have been suppressed and, whatever, Hulk-like powers, gamma powers are also suppressed? What if all that is suppressed in the TVA, and when they turn off the safety features, suddenly, Amadeus Cho as a Hulk steps in front of them and takes the brunt of the radiation? Like, that would be a totally unexpected and badass thing.
We could get this Loki being like, oh, we have a Hulk, because this Loki never got to say that.
It also, he has a healing factor and is hard to affect, so it could explain why he hasn't, his brain might be healing and protecting him from, the memory wipes. I don't know. And also he ages.
He's a Hulk. He could go out there and fix that loom.
Exactly. Like he could if they survive just enough, like they take that brunt of the radiation, like because Hulk steps in front of them, a Hulk. And it would also add to the Hulk family, because you've already got Scar and everything. Like that could be really fun.
That would be fun.
And Amadeus Cho is a tech hero or whatever, like he's a scientist in the comics, so like that would be a thing that make OB make sense. I like it. Regina continues, secondly, if Loki saw himself and remembered he got pruned, so he pruned himself, is time just a giant cycle? What would that mean for the show? Also, wouldn't that mean somewhere in the building is another Sylvie?
No, I don't think there'd be another Sylvie, right? Because she was right where she was supposed to be.
I don't know where she's getting the other Sylvie from. Because, he gets pruned and then brought back to a previous time because he's in the future, apparently, which I didn't know until you said it. I'm going to have to go back and rewatch that because so that Loki was jumping around in time. There was not a second Sylvie with him at that time. He's jumping around. So the Loki that he prunes was the Loki we saw in the first episode, who hadn't even brought Sylvie into the story yet. They hadn't even gone to see her.
Because he was shocked to see her.
Yeah. Next, she says, is Renslayer now in the land of the pruned people? I would say yes.
Yeah, that's what we think.
That's what we think. The best guess. Another question: how on earth did OB know where to call? That's a good question.
Video cameras. This TV has got cameras.
Yeah, and probably tracking devices too. They probably know where everyone is. Yeah, that's a good question. Or it's because
Loki told him he was in the hallway and the phone rang. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole different, whole different mind for there. Is Miss Minutes a sadistic psycho who enjoys seeing people hurt? I mean, she was loving watching the team get squished.
I think so. Yeah, that's a pretty
100%.
Simple. Yep.
Yeah, that's 100% yes. Is Miss Minutes Kang? Love y'all 3000.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If anything, it's an AI he created that has now become more sentient. Because that would be super annoying.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, also, we just, I think it was Elliot on the previous email who asked us another question about Miss Minutes being like a tool, and if she's been started over or whatever. But
right.
In my opinion, that's no different than every other character. Right?
Right.
Every character, if they're following the script that Kang has, it doesn't matter if they have their own purposes like they all do, or if they're actually working for Kang, they're working for Kang. I think that Miss Minutes does have her own purposes, but also she is inherently working for Kang. I love the idea of them sitting across from each other for, millennia playing chess, and she's learning from He Who Remains to upgrade her AI. She's learning from this amazing genius of Kang to perfect who she is. I think that's so cool. Hey, we got one voicemail feedback. Let's play that. I should have played it earlier. I kind of forgot to get to that. We got a voicemail feedback. Here we go.
Hey, kia ora, Panda bosses. Kim here from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Which is why I sound like I'm stoned, and that's the only reason. Hey, calling in with some feedback about Loki episode 4. 2 theories. One, Victor Timely knew what was going to happen when he went to the loom. And his whole big thing about time to be brave is because he knew that he was going to get gibbed, and he knew it was going to hurt, but he knew it had to be done, and he was psyching himself up to do it. So maybe a Miss Minutes thing, maybe a Kang thing, but he knew what was going to happen. He just got told, you have to get in there. You're going to get torn apart. It's going to hurt, but it's what needs to be done. So, yeah, I reckon he knew. And the other one, this is for the finale. The big, possibly end credits, but we're going to get Deadpool. It's going to be his appearance and possibly even a background thing. He'll sneak through a door, give a shush motion to the camera, and then sneak through another door, and that's how he comes into the main timeline. Probably not going to happen, but still pretty funny. Anyway, you guys doing a great job. Love your podcast, and look forward to hearing from you. Catch up. Bye.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Okay, so we've crossed this question before, but the way that Kim described it made me really like.
Making you think.
I don't know. Yeah, it's making me think about it. Like I said it on our reaction episode, how he shoves his head in that thing, and I was thinking, like, what if that is the download of information? Like it's supposed to be like, what if he's getting the information downloaded to him? It seems like that could absolutely be it, but then he dies, and so I wrote it off. But this idea that he's being spread throughout the universe has me thinking again, like, what if that was the information being downloaded to him? He knows what he has to do. And then he goes and does it.
Mm-hmm.
I
like it.
I do like it. I do like it. I didn't like it at first, and now I'm liking it. God, all the theories sound good. God. Like, yeah, I'm definitely like getting my theories that I really like and like my little pet theories, but they all sound fun and cool, and I'm so on board with so many different things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and Deadpool. I hope they do Deadpool at the end of the season.
Yeah.
It just fits. It needs to happen sooner than later.
I wonder if we'll get that at the end of the Marvels.
Yeah. See, I feel like the Marvels won't fit the same tone like as much as this would. But like, and the time travel / multiverse, blah, blah. Like him dancing around the TVA would be like a just absolutely epic. I don't know. Just Ryan Reynolds Deadpool talking to Sylvie or whatever. Come with me if you want to live. Like he pulls like a Sarah Connor type thing. Like he comes to her, like acts like I'm from a different multiverse, and come with me if you want to live. Like I don't know, it could be really fun. And now I've just inserted Sylvie into the Deadpool movie, which I really like actually.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, we're gonna take another quick break. All right, we back with some more feedback. Oh man, this is going to be the longest episode in the feed in probably 3-4 years. I don't know. Like, we haven't done. We've been like for a long time, sort of trying to keep it reasonable because editing takes longer and all that stuff. Like it's hard to keep at the clip of making 2 or 3 episodes a week when you do these long episodes. But I'm just having fun, guys, and I just want to keep talking about Marvel. So I'm just going. I'm going. Let's do this. Ashley's hanging on.
I'm hanging in there. Let's keep going.
Okay. Up next, Angel Capel says, "Hi, Panda Overlords. Loving Loki and wanted to share the 2 things sticking in my brain about Mobius. You guys reminded us of the 'Are you a robot?' dialogue from the pilot episode, and I keep thinking that's going to be relevant. Maybe that's why Mobius reacts different about his past. The other is Jack. And who's Sylvie, I don't know.
Oh, the guy who works at the McDonald's?
Oh, yeah, that's it, I think. And Sylvie's extreme reaction to Mobius could be because that's him. Either way, I hope we find out about him in the last 2 episodes. Love you 3000. Love you 300.
That's funny.
Angel. Thank you. Love you 300 too.
I don't want Mobius to be the Jack character. I don't know why. I just don't like that. It would make sense though.
It makes sense.
Because of the time.
It's a cute meme and all. I mean, like, it doesn't matter. Time doesn't matter in the TVA. That's the thing. So far, everyone in the TVA has been from, like, everyone we've known about has been from our time period or, like, around or whatever.
Right, but they looked like themselves. They didn't look like children, you know?
Yeah. But, like, the point is he could grow up and then be pruned, like, and be a variant. So, like, yeah. It makes sense that a younger Mobius could exist on the timeline.
Yeah.
But also, like, we could have variants from any time period. You could grab variants from wherever, and it would still make sense. I mean, Sylvie is from Loki as a child, so she's probably like 2,000 years ago she was pruned or whatever. Before the Earth got involved with all this stuff, really. So, yeah.
That is funny that she brought up the robot thing, because we did talk about that.
Yeah, totally.
I forgot that we talked about it, but then we talked about it today.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about, like, I feel like there's no way anything's not going to get covered today at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're just
doing
so long.
so much.
We're going so long.
But any theories, it's just like, I'm not even shocked anymore. I'm like, hey, we just said that. I'm like, oh no, this is what's happening.
Yeah, which that's one of the reasons sometimes we don't do as much feedback, is because, like, once you've done a few pages of feedback like we normally do, like, you start hearing a lot of the same theories, but, like,
same theories.
I don't know, man. I'm impressed. Like, we've had a lot of people bring up at least different takes on, which is why we're kind of responding to specific things within them, because, like, everybody is having, like, slightly different ideas about how it all fits together. And we've not brought up the Jack Mobius connection, because there is no connection on the show, but like, people have been memeing about it online. So, just in case you don't know, Jack is the character that's at the McDonald's who walks away, and he's like the manager of the McDonald's or something. And people online have been posting that might be Mobius, because they could kind of look alike. They could look alike, at least.
Yeah,
enough to be the same person or whatever. Next, W. Wholesome says, "Hey guys, I only wanted to jump in and think too hard." I see a lot of people assuming OB is going to be a Kang variant unless it's a long con. I only think OB is his own person, only based on the fact that they need a Kang variant for his temporal aura. Yes, this is a great point. Yeah. I thought about this week and I forgot to mention it. That's a great point. Great point. If all variants have the same aura, which I haven't checked if Loki and Sylvie do, OB would just need to use his own aura and fix the loom, not go through this whole goose chase. Thanks for your time. Love the multiverse and beyond. This is a great catch.
He doesn't know that he's a Kang guy, but you'd think it might, like, accidentally work or something.
Well, no, that's I think why it's totally a good call, because he says, like, I couldn't do it because it requires a certain aura. Right. So I think he tried to do it, is what I would have to assume,
and it didn't work.
It didn't work, and then they were like, "Well, who do we need? It's got to be He Who Remains. He created the place." And then they go in the goose chase. So, like, this is that makes me really solidly think that OB is not a Kang variant.
Yep, and I like that. I don't really want him to be a variant of anybody.
Yeah, I like the idea of him being someone powerful, but, like, just because, again, the same thing I was saying about Mobius being powerful, which might be undercut by the fact that he's the timeline guy. Like, I could see I think Mobius isn't powerful, because we talked about how he's been to the timeline a bunch.
He's a robot.
He might be a robot. I think he could be our new Coulson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he could be the new guy who's going to hop in. Like, once they've, like, established him and they figure out what the TVA looks like with the multiverse open like it is, he could be the guy who's hopping from multiverse to multiverse, sort of coordinating the team and, like, putting together the team. It could be neat. It could be really neat. Caleb Shelby says, "Hello, true believers. I'm not a patron. Well, not on this timeline, but I had to find a way to write in. Just watched episode 4 and I was shocked. Like, I was at the end of Infinity War. I have no idea of where the show is headed next, but that's what makes me eager to finish the season. I do agree that there is someone bigger than He Who Remains that is pulling the strings on everything, everywhere, all at once. He is using the Kangs and his variants to keep redoing the TVA and making himself bigger, stronger, and smarter, and more powerful. I am having a blast with this show, but we won't talk about Secret Invasion. Keep doing what you guys do best. I'm a huge fan of the jam."
That's so funny.
Oh man, yeah, totally. So yeah, Caleb is talking about there possibly being this third, whether it's a variant of Kang, a third of someone that is like controlling even He Who Remains. That's an interesting.
Galactus.
Well, like it could be another Kang even, but like or a Loki, like it could be someone. But, like, it is an interesting idea that, like, they uncovered He Who Remains. He was behind the Timekeepers. What if that's the answer? Like, at the end of the season, we find out that even that was a system of control under someone else's system of control.
Yeah.
And also, that would be a thing they could tack on the end of a series if they wanted to write Jonathan Majors out, which would suck. But, like, that could be a way of doing it.
Yeah, very true. Who were at the end of Thor, Thor Love and Thunder, they're in that hall with all the statues of the people who I can't remember who these were supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like Eternity, and it was just a bunch of like
and who we were speculating that the high hierarchy, no, wasn't it? Even the three-faced people at the TVA, like they were actually people, so I wonder maybe they're in charge. Well, I can't remember what they were called.
The three-faced thing at the TVA, that's the Living Tribunal is what you're thinking of.
The Living Tribunal, that's it. Yeah,
the Living Tribunal is what you're thinking of, but that's not the same. We proposed that during season 1 that might be what the Timekeepers were because there was some imagery that looked similar, but
right,
like
and it wasn't
them. They were clearly like we were talking all about that because it was a great misdirect. They had so many things in season 1 we were misdirected. I need to go back and listen to all of our episodes from season 1 and just see how wrong we were because there's so much stuff. And we just didn't know, man. Can you imagine watching that show not knowing that Kang's the bad guy? Like, we did it, and it was so good. Like, him showing up in that elevator was just like, oh, so good. So
I was like, you're actually really personable. I kind of like you. Let's hang out. You know, you're just giving me a new job.
You're the new Thanos? I dig it.
Yeah, I like you.
He's the new MCU manager. Yeah. Danny Kwok says, "Hi, my name is Danny, a Canadian panda, first time writing in. So here's something to think about. Skin? ? Okay, I noticed a discrepancy between episode 1 and episode 4. In episode 1, when Loki travels to the future, the time loom room is empty, where he observes the word skin ? Written by Mobius, and when proceeds to the elevator lobby. In episode 4, when Loki picks up the phone in the elevator, Obi, Mobius, and Casey are in the room calling the phone when he arrives at the time loom. The word skin doesn't appear to be on the monitor when they pan the room. Actually, I went back to check, and they look past the computer. I don't see the word skin. Is this a mistake, or is it just something to be ignored, or does this signify that this is not what we think it is? Maybe episode 4 is a different iteration of events where they failed. They have done the same sequence multiple times. Love the cast. Love you 3000, Danny. Okay, that's interesting.
So he does go to... Okay, good. I'm glad he said... Second, I was worried. I was like, maybe he doesn't go to the future. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm glad somebody else said it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to rewatch that first episode because I did not know that he had gone to the future. I thought that whole pruning thing happened in the deep past because we definitely talked about theories where, like, maybe that's when Kang rose and we're going to see that part of the past again and we're going to see Kang, He Who Remains rising from that time period.
I think it's specifically because of the skin thing that we know it was the future.
Right.
Or he does say it too.
Right.
But yeah, the fact that it's not there, maybe that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, like maybe things have changed.
Yeah, no,
since
it does seem like that would, if that's all true, if all the stuff Danny just said was true, which I have no reason to doubt, it does sound like it's a different version of the future within the TVA, which is like, what does that mean? Is this a multiple, like, rotations thing? Another, like, it's also like, it's the word skin written, and it's like in dust or something, isn't it?
I think so, right?
Because that made me think, when I saw that the first time, I thought, like, is this a long time ago? Or, like, has a lot of time passed for the dust to be written in dust?
Or maybe they got dusted, you know? I don't know.
Somebody's been dusted in that room. Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't know. But I'm gonna have to rewatch that episode to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know, Danny, but I do think that like you're onto something, and headcanon, if it is the case that it's just the same future and we all have to look back at this as some kind of flaw, headcanon, they walked in the room and OB just wiped it off. Like, you know, like it could just,
somebody just came through with a duster.
Yeah, we could sit here and theorize about it for days, and then it never comes to anything, and we just have to headcanon the fact that someone like cleaned it, you know, like as we were walking through.
That's all. Yeah, like TVA has cleaners, I'm sure.
Yeah, and Danny does mention that they were in different places, but I think that's explained by the fact they're in the office building the device, and then they come to. So he just missed them, basically, is what we have to assume.
Because he calls him when he calls that phone. He's in his workshop, right? Or is he in the room? I can't remember.
He's in the room. He's in the control room.
Okay.
So he must have left his office to come to the control room while Loki was left the control room and went down to the elevator.
Right.
It would be really funny if we see another version of these events and like someone else goes through that same like process, and we see that it's around the same time period and they like go by and like, what the hell? And they wipe skin off the wall.
Yeah. They're like, who wrote that?
Be really silly. Be really super silly. Up next, Patrick Weston says, "Hey gang, I was in the Twitch chat, but for some reason, listening in the podcast feed helps me come up with two things to point out. Let me just point out one thing, and that's that you should all watch the Twitch live and listen to the podcast. You got to and probably watch the YouTube video as well. Like you got to do all three to really get the full scope, get all the Easter eggs of the podcast." Continuing Patrick's feedback. First, Jeff mentioned that maybe this whole thing has happened over and over, and every time the size of the loom is increased, and I completely agree. It would go along with the theme of OB and Victor Timely teaching each other and can explain how He Who Remains could even shift the sacred timeline to a branch as they are allowed to grow. Wider if the branch timeline is more advantageous for him, becoming He Who Remains. Second, and this could support Jeff's theory above being correct, He Who Remains seems like he's an underpowered Kang variant. And if anything, his all-knowingness and intelligence is his main attribute. This could come from having his whole process repeat over and over, creating the most optimal outcome. Kang the Conqueror in Quantumania was massively powerful, and for He Who Remains to not just defeat him, but every other variant seems to point to the fact that he's going to be able to work smarter, not harder, for all time, always. I mean, to me, it just seems like Quantumania Kang is a Kang that's like in his prime of conquering and like an angry, young, powerful, like violent creature. And then at the end of time, it's an old, tired, so powerful he doesn't even have to hurt you. You know, he just jumps around the room. Like it seems like you say underpowered, but I would say like that's drastically untrue. Like he doesn't have blasters on his hands, but he's like nothing can touch him until he allows it to, you know?
Yeah. He allowed Sylvie to kill him. He was excited about it because
100%.
Something new after all that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
His excitement of being like, for the first time in a long time, I have no idea what's about to happen.
Like he had like a minute of pure joy of like expectation.
Because he was even like, "Go ahead, girl. You ready?
Yeah.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it.
If you do, I'll see you soon." It's so funny. Like that feeling that Kang gets is very much the feeling I feel like we're having right now with this episode. Like the fact that this is all what's gonna happen. I have no idea. I kind of knew it was happening till now, and now I have no idea. Good stuff.
Yeah, man. I thought I knew, but we had no idea.
Yeah, for real. Kimmy Snively says, Kimmy here, and this is a long one, so feel free to paraphrase. My red string theory doesn't apply to just Loki. I am really interested in tech used by Kang and the TVA. While rewatching episode 4, I paid close attention to the prototype presented by Timely. It looked strikingly similar to Kang's chair ship in Quantumania. I was always struck by how similar the device that powered Kang in Quantumania looked, similar to the Ten Rings. In my opinion, all of these impressive magical/tech items match the aesthetic of the Celestials/Eternals. I enjoyed the Eternals, but if I'm being honest, it seemed like a very weird choice for Marvel/Disney. I know Feige said it was establishing the building blocks of the next phase. Until recently, I assumed this was just him trying to hype the next film. Now, I think we are eventually going to find out that some of the miraculous magic and tech in the universe comes from looted celestial tech or celestial experimentation.
Okay.
There's precedent for this in the comics. Avengers used the Dreaming Celestial as a base for a few years. The mutant Apocalypse's armor and ship were both stolen celestial tech. In the comics, Apocalypse has run-ins with Kang's variant Rama-Tut. It would not be outlandish to think that Rama-Tut found celestial tech. As always, thanks for taking time to create a fun space for MCU fans. Thank you, Kimmy.
Yeah, that's definitely like, they have to be at this point. We have so many little things that look the same. She brought up the 10 rings too.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about Miss Marvel.
Yeah. I
you know, they just got a Wong's involved now too.
Yeah.
And honestly, does the Eye of Agamotto kind of look like it a little bit?
Yeah,
got the little...
totally. When it opens, and even the that thing that they used in No Way Home, that little device looked similar. Like
the box,
the mixture of magic and tech, and sort of the swirling gears and things that like all kind of go together. Yeah, we've been saying it for years now, and like it feels like they don't have to it doesn't have to be some sort of reveal. It can just sort of be this like behind the scenes thing that's happening, and it's just the fact that Kang has been sprinkling his technology throughout, or Celestials, like she said, Kang came across celestial technology at some point.
And we still have no idea what they were talking about at the end of Shang-Chi with Wong and that noise or something, that beacon that's going off.
Yeah, exactly. The beacon, we had no idea.
Never got back to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, it's time.
It is time.
It's Victor Timely to tell us what's going on in that stuff.
Speaking of time, I think it's time we get off this podcast.
You sure?
I mean, we got a few more feedbacks. Don't tempt me with a good time. No, we've been at it for over 2 hours.
There's only 3.
All right, let's do it. We're going to take a quick break.
Just do it.
We're going to take a quick break. Yeah. We're going to do it. We're going to do that. We're going to finish all of the feedback.
We'll just go we'll just get through it.
We'll do it. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back.
Yeah.
All right.
For the last time.
This is going to be the last of the segments here. Cedric, I do not know how to say your name, Cedric. I'm going to say Cedric. Cedric says, "Hey guys, long time listener, usually from the UK, but now relocated all the way to New Zealand, aka Kiwi Panda."
Fun.
Nice.
You have to go find Kim.
Yeah, this is our second Kiwi Panda of the day. I dig it. It took me until this episode to finally send you some feedback, but what is time really? So, listening to your recent reaction cast, I had an idea when Jeff talked about another Kang possibly pulling the strings. Now, like Matt, I don't know much about the comics, but what if the ones pulling the strings are none other than the Beyonders? After all, for them, this could be another experiment. The fact that the whole universe collapses on itself is no biggie. They'll just create another one. This would fit nicely with the introduction of Doctor Doom and Fantastic Four, in time for him or her to annihilate the Beyonders and collapse the multiverse into Battle World as the setup for Secret Wars. What do you guys think? I'm not sure whether this is too far-fetched or too obvious. I love a show that's got you so confused that you're not sure if your theory is too far-fetched or too obvious. That's great. Anyway, I'm really grateful for what you guys do across the network. This community is like a family. Love you all 3000, Cedric. Thank you, Cedric. That's really sweet. And yeah, it really is. I really love the interactions and everything online with you guys. We're all the time hanging out in the Stranded Panda chat on Facebook. And just lots of great vibes over there.
Yeah, it's a good time.
To be honest, I know nothing about the Beyonders. I've heard the name.
I honestly don't know either.
I don't know. So it is in line with the theories we've been talking about there possibly being a third person that's like pulling the strings of He Who Remains, and we find out this cycle it's all more series systems of control. So yeah, who knows?
Did they push the Fantastic Four movie release, or is that going to be right in the middle of Kang and Secret Wars?
Don't think we know because of the actor strike. We still haven't even gotten a casting on it. Like we just know nothing about Fantastic Four and when it's coming. So it's going to be a big part of the next phase, though, I think. And they just need to nail Fantastic Four, and that's a big part of
They really need to nail it.
Like if they can nail Fantastic Four, it's a beloved group of heroes. If they can nail the story and do it well, and not build it too much into the multiversal story, but like make a really good standalone first film, like and kick off a new phase of Marvel's, like, you know, Marvel having a like they just need to focus on that movie and make it great. I think that's the key to making that movie really good. And they've already done 2 not loved versions of the Fantastic Four, 3 if you go even further back, and so like. Really need to nail that character. And it's gonna be tough.
It's true.
It's not an easy one to do. Okay. Chantal Ashford says, "Hello, Jeff, Ashley, and Matt, and the rest of the Panda embarrassment." I love the embarrassment. I am so glad Loki has brought some speculation life to the MCU, and I'm getting so much joy from hearing your takes each week. Speaking of which, I have a theory that builds off Matt's theory from last week. I agree that with Matt that whatever variant of Kang set this up, He Who Remains, Quantum Realm Kang, he planted Timely in the timeline so that eventually he and OB would create the throughput multiplier. I think that Timely knew he had to be the only one to take the new invention to the bridge because the cosmic radiation would be too much and would spread the He Who Remains /Kang /Timely DNA temporal aura across the temporal universe. I don't even think the throughput multiplier would have worked if they got it to the end of the gangway. Aaron Perrin shared a similar theory on Phase Zero, which I heard after beginning this email yesterday. Thank you, Chantal. Yeah, again, someone that we got too close to the end that has a theory that is much better formed of like all the pieces of the theories we've been talking about sort of came to this over time. But I think that's the idea that Kang has spread himself, like this was an intentional move to spread himself across the multiverse is really cool.
I like it.
I do like it. Grace says, "Hey Matt, Jeff, and Ashley, I can't believe there are only 2 more episodes left of Loki season 2. I started listening to your pod back during season 1. Loki was the show that got me into Marvel for the first time, and it remains one of my favorite shows of all time. Always." Yeah, that's neat. This is such a weird one to be into first. I love it, Grace. That's cool.
I have questions.
yeah. Please tell us how your experience of watching this did you know?
And nothing else but just Loki? How do you even? Yeah.
Well, it just got me into. So maybe like I like Star Wars.
Maybe you'd see.
I like it okay. Like I've watched a lot of it, but then like I got into Ahsoka. Maybe it's one of those situations.
That makes more sense.
Or yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to think of just like watching that. Grace says, "I was watching Thor Ragnarok earlier today, and I was struck by Hela mentioning that a long time ago, she and Odin ruled together and that Odin's goal was to conquer different lands before he eventually decided to become a benevolent king. That seems to mirror Loki's journey from someone who wanted power to rule over others to become more of a hero. In that way, Loki is more similar to Odin than Thor is." Ooh, that's a good call.
That is a good one.
That's a really good observation, Grace. That's really cool.
Yeah, because Thor came back and was like, "I don't want to do any of it. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be king. I'm out."
Well, and he was always like, Thor had a similar like, I want to conquer, I want to fight aesthetic in the first Thor movie. But, like,
For sure.
he never wanted to, he wanted to do it to prove himself. And I think it seems like Odin was a much more malevolent force when he was younger, where he wanted to, like, rule over people and control.
Yeah.
And, yeah. And so depending on how you take all of that, it does seem like this could be a really great point. As for the next, continuing Graces, as for the next 2 episodes, here's my theory. Ooh, here we go. I've heard people say they think Loki will have to go back in time to try to fix the loom before it was destroyed, but I think they might have to go back further than that. I think that in the finale, they will realize they have to go back to the Citadel to stop Sylvie from killing He Who Remains, and it will be Sylvie herself who will convince her earlier self not to kill him. I think it would be such a satisfying culmination of her character growth throughout the season. What do you think? Thank you for such an amazing podcast. I look forward to hearing your thoughts every week. R.I.P. TVA, Grace.
I'd be okay with that. I'd like that.
It's interesting. I think there definitely could be something to be said for, like, that being the end to all of this, you know, the entire multiversal war and blah, blah, blah. And then they realize that she just should have never killed He Remains and, like, could have, like, saved a lot of heartache or something, and they should have just ruled together like they talked about. But I don't know about the end of this season, because I don't see that Sylvie has moved that way at all. The only thing she's changed is she doesn't want to kill Victor Timely, because Victor Timely isn't a bad dude. That's the only thing she's changed.
She saw herself, the variant in him.
Exactly.
Like, ugh. But so I hope that it does come out that he is a bad dude, and now she's just going to start putting heads to bed all the time. She's like, I trusted that one person, and he screwed us over. I'm not trusting anybody else again except for my little inner circle here.
Well, even more, I think thematically, like, fitting for the show is she realizes that, like, she didn't do it because that was what she felt was right. And he was a good guy, but it was still part of this master plan that's been puppeting her all along, and she can't break free from this freaking puppet master who's been, like, telling her, like, she's not even when it's not chasing her to the ends of Armageddon's, this thing is still in control of her. She still doesn't have freedom, and like, that's the thing about Sylvie, that she's, like, lacking freedom and wants to find free will. And I think either way, I think it works really well. Yeah, I love it. All right,
I like it.
Well, we made it. We made it through all the episode 4 feedback that we have in the doc at time of recording. So, I look forward to doing this again next week. I'm having fun. I'm having fun. I knew that this would be a long episode for me, at least. I did not know you were going to hang out with me this long. Thank you.
I was like, okay,
good.
Let's just go.
Well, good. I'm glad you had fun.
I was a little bit more worried when we started, because I heard myself too when I started talking, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was up at the Mahoning Drive-In. For everybody who is in PA or the surrounding areas, it is the coolest drive-in theater, and they do themed weekends. And I know I've talked about it before, but they were closing out the season with the Lost Boys, which everybody knows is my favorite. And Timmy Capello was actually going to be there playing a set. And then what we didn't know is that there were 2 secret movies after the Lost Boys and after the set, because they didn't announce those. Wow. And there was a bonfire in PA, maybe other places, but the last, I would say, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we had a weather jump, and it was 80 degrees every day. Sunday came around for this event. It dropped down to 45 degrees, and it rained the entire time. And we were in the mountains. Yeah. And we camped there. So I did this to myself, and I loved every minute of it.
Man.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I'm so glad. That sounds amazing. I haven't even, I know I feel it's one of those movies that's, like, escaped me for a long time. I still haven't seen all of.
So you know what? It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Watch it tomorrow on Halloween.
Lost
do that
Boys.
For me.
I'll do my best. I think I can. I think I can.
Best soundtrack.
Nice. That's great.
And you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't even need. You'll know this.
Oh yeah, you sent me the scene. It's the sax guy. Like, you sent me the scene and had me.
Yeah, he was Tina Turner's saxophone player.
That's awesome.
So he had like pictures of him and Tina there. I had a specially made poster sent to me from England for him to sign, and he was like really into it. He was so nice.
That's
he
awesome.
was cool.
Well, like,
yeah.
I know that that's a signature thing, and like it has its cult status, but like you're probably up there in the people that love that cult thing, and so it was
everybody.
Those type of exactly. You're at an event, like that's just cool. I love that kind of convention atmosphere.
We were all waiting to get it. Let me tell you something. I don't queue. I don't wait in lines for anything. I VIP haunted houses. I VIP Disney. I don't wait in lines. I waited an hour and 15 minutes in the rain.
Wow.
To meet this guy, and we weren't even that far away from the door. It was when I got in there. Because you know me, I'm like, what's the holdup? You know, I'm freaking out.
Loud.
It was just because he really was talking to people.
Aww.
He was like taking the time. He did it. He was like, for me, he took like 15 pictures with me. He was like, let's do this pose. Let's do this pose. I was like, oh my God. Okay, we can take as long as we want.
That's so good. Yeah, like, I waited
crazy.
for everybody else. I'm doing my time.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really
great. It was fun. But yeah, it was him, and he was just very personable. Very cool. If you get the chance, go see him.
That's awesome. I know we've already done and stuff, but can I say a couple more things?
Yep.
I love about this Loki episode that so many characters have arguments and no one is right. And one of the ones I loved was when they have that great argument. Sylvie and Loki have that great argument where they talk about like, she's like, he says that line about how like, yeah, you could bail on this, but like staying and tearing it down is easy. Staying and building it back is hard. Like hope is hard. And like, it seems like he's kind of won the argument, but then she has that thing and then she has that great turnaround where she's like, but no matter what we do, we're playing gods. And he has the line, we are gods, which is a cool line, but is utterly empty. And I love that, like, they both make these great points. Like, he's like, no, hope is hard. But she's like, no, but we can't play God. And then he just ends it with this, we are gods, which, like, to him sounds like, I don't know, I guess cool and, like, smart.
Mic
droppy, but, like, it isn't. It's empty. Like we've heard Odin say they are not gods, you know? It's just like an empty gesture. And I think it's so cool that you end that conversation and they both have totally valid points and it's not resolved at all.
No.
Another thing that I didn't get to bring up. Sorry, I went through my notes and like deleted all the ones that I already talked about. And I have like 2 things left. Doc's Brad says, we earned our lives. Don't you think you earned your life by working at the TVA? And it turns to Docs and she says, no. And before you ever find out what she means by that, she dies. And I really want to hear more from Docs about like, is she regretful about like what she's done all this time? Like she just doesn't feel like she's earned a life. And it's just a fascinating, different way of interpreting these events. Again, I freaking love that line so much, and I don't even know what she fully means. Last thing, the pie theory. I meant to mention earlier with the pie theory. Sylvie ends up in the pie room, and she says, I took a wrong turn. I did not mean to come to Pie Land. And like, kind of makes me wonder if like the pie theory is real. Like if there's something that was sort of pushing her there, like control, or like the TVA was why, you know, those like, I don't know, all kinds of sci-fi things where you're walking around and you're just keeping up in the same room. Like maybe it's trying to lead her to the pies because the pies is a signature thing. Or maybe those lights in that room make people compliant or something, you know, whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there's something.
Something with the pies.
Something weird.
Okay, I'm sorry. I had to go back into things.
You're good.
All right, this has been a blast. Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate you.
You got it.
And I'm really glad you had fun at your event. I will watch Lost Boys. I promise.
It's Halloween.
It's a good Halloween movie. All right, we'll talk to you guys soon. We'll be back on Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. If you get a chance, we both got contests going on. Go review Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater. They're giving away a shirt.
Yep, t-shirt.
They're giving away a t-shirt. And
a horror-themed t-shirt.
Horror-themed t-shirt for a 5-star review. And if you go to strandedpanda.com and click on Multiverse News, we're giving away 3 Loki Steelbooks. It's going to be, there are 3 ways to win. I don't want to sit here and go through everything because we're already at 2.5 hours. But there's a contest. 5-star review, social media, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. So if you're a fan of Multiverse News, please support the show. That's today is the last day for both our contests. So go do that.
Good point.
Go do that. All right. Much love. Love you 3000.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. And a special thanks to all of our subscribers at patreon.com/MCUcast. You make this show possible. And a huge shout out to both, that's right, there's 2 of them now, Illuminati tier patrons, Walter Kreisky III and Lieutenant Bongo. Thank you guys. If you want to find all of our fine Stranded Panda podcasts, go to strandedpanda.com. And for a video version, check out youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you want to take part in our live streams, go to twitch.tv/strandedpandatv.